Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the city council budget work session to order. And, a little housekeeping. We have an agenda, and we are going to stick to this agenda. We are going to give respect to our speakers. We are not going to have interruptions unless it is for a question or a comment, when you'll be either recognized or ask that person a question.
Can we throw him?
Not at this moment, depending on where you want to throw. We do have designated 30 minutes, but I'm sure people will not take that long, so this is to allow people that are on the agenda that much time if there are questions. If we follow this schedule, we should be ahead of time, so council members can go through, ask their questions, their plans, and different solutions that we have asked them to bring. Les McKelvey is on his way, and Candace Woman Busby will not be here till 2:45. So without that, let's start, and I would like to ask LaShawn Hicks with the Civic Center, and thank you for this detailed packet.
Thank you. So thank you guys again for this opportunity to present. I value your time. I'll be brief because I'm a little under the weather myself. So I have provided you guys with a detailed package that pertains critical information regarding safety and revenue concerns with this fly rail. Additionally, I did do some research on other fly rail companies. I haven't received any information back from them yet, but I'm awaiting their response. First, what I will reiterate is that fly rail is the spine of the Civic Center. That means we can't do anything without it. And 95% of our event holders uses it. The current system contains the original parts and old parts that's worn out, 20 years. And the company that made those parts have been bankrupt. So according to the inspection report, several drapes have failed, which pose a significant risk. And OSHA could possibly mandate a shutdown because they failed the flame test. And if we lose that fly rail, or we are losing, the city is losing over $200,000 a year. And this just, I'm talking about pageant. Not only the pageant, you got the symphony who brings in musicians from out of town. They stay overnight. That's money. Hotels, restaurants, that's money. So let's take that into consideration. Also, I want you guys to please read this package. Please, please, please. There's cheaper options, there are, but cheaper options don't always mean the more feasible options. Some options are just a temporary fix. We don't need that because it can cause higher costs in the future. In the words of Councilman Dodd, we need to stop kicking the can further down the road. With this fly rail system, we almost at the end of the road, which can cause a dead end if we hit the end of the road. So I strongly recommend the scenario number 2. That's the best choice. It meets all the options of OSHA requirements. It's a 50-year, it's at the very end, very back of it, the very back of your pack. It's a 50-year life expectancy. It meets all OSHA requirements. And not only that, if the bidder decides to use our blocks, that could possibly save us $100,000. Then let's look at recycling the steel. We can get something from recycling the steel. So let's take that into consideration too. Based on the timeline, the project, if hypothetically speaking, if the project was to pass the the first quarter 2027 will be nothing but paperwork, pretty much, bidding and paperwork, pretty much. Then we'll have to look at the lead time for the parts. It could be 3 to 6 months or longer, depending, because that's a very large fly rail system, and it might have to have customized parts. So let's look at that. And we're not gonna pay them until the work is complete, right?
Correct.
So it might even be FY28 before this even really gets started. So, and I'm gonna let Zach talk about the building During the 20 years I've been at the Civic Center, I've seen that building undergo many temporary repairs. However, current condition of the fly rail has become a significant concern. These issues was recently demonstrated, and it's clear that it requires attention. As a facility manager, my priority is to provide a safe and professional venue for our community. It is my responsibility to inform you of any findings pose risk to the public. I am sharing this with you out of sincere commitment and safety of our facility and those who use it. Like I said, just about all your questions will be answered in here. I have a summary of the economic impact. I have our new price addendum in here. I have the inspection summary in here. It's full of detailed information. Thank you.
That is so great, thank you. Zach, you were addressed, would you mind addressing the RFP?
Sure.
What went through?
So just a little context of like where we're at with the consultant. So back in October, we did an RFQ, and this is for the engineering, the fly rail consulting service itself. Just to actually get the expert in here. So we worked with LaShawn, put specs out, and what this person's gonna be doing, so Ty in this case. So Ty is the expert in this world. He works with Bellatex, right? They are the premier theater people, venue-wise. So he's gonna come in, he acts as our professional. He's gonna assess the existing system. And a lot of this stuff's already in the packet. It's a very well put together packet, explains all the different things going on. But what they're doing for us is they'll be assessing the current system, what are the needs, get it aligned with modern performance standards for a venue of this size, work with LaShawn, work with the bidding process because they're the expert when bids come in. We're gonna be bidding out sections of the fly rail to point out some of the billing concerns in here. So it's gonna be very similar to construction bid. We can save money if we buy directly from a manufacturer, but he is our professional that helps us with that. But he is just the consultant that helps us. He will be partnering with, we have an engineering firm that will be working with him to make sure everything meets our blueprints at Pacific Center. Can't remember, it's in here somewhere, but he essentially is our expert to what the fly rail system is, and that's what we have so far, and this is where a lot of this packet information has come from. Ty did a really good job presenting it all. If there are any questions about the history of where we're at on this, or is it mainly questions about the product? Just let me know, and I can answer them off the cuff.
Now,
Yes, sir.
I noticed that I was just looking here quickly, that the bottom cost for all the replacements is close to 4 million or over 4 million. No?
I believe she said go to the end of the packet.
Yes. If you look at the very last page of the packet, scenario number 2 is the 2.2. Now, we do have, currently, we have 465,000 in the capital that could cover the drapes.
So that's what you look at all those different components, did I not see the total package?
She recommended, let's let you all answer his question,
Okay.
what you recommended, please.
I recommended the scenario number 2, and it has, if you look at this, it has everything it consists of.
Curtains?
Not the curtains, just everything except the curtains.
She
So-
has money.
Yeah, we have capital money for the curtains.
What's the difference in scenarios? Capital monies in this current year's budget, it have to be allocated for next year's
Okay.
budget. It's not an automatic carryover, it has to be assigned for a capital purchase.
What's the real difference in scenario 2 and scenario 7? Because it's about $500,000 difference. I understand that there's no front loading art, like I can see the actual differences on here, but what does that mean for you guys at?
Number 7 doesn't meet the OSHA, it doesn't meet OSHA, it's no wires. If you look at, you don't have no wire rope measurement, it don't cover everything we need as far as safety wise. And it won't last long. It's pretty much just like a Band-Aid too.
Can we suggest if OSHA wouldn't go along with that, we just cross that out?
Yes.
That would be, what I would do.
Well, I was looking on page 3. You had the $2.2 million option, plus motorization of lighting battens, and replacement of drapes and tracks, option. Well, this is going back.
Yeah, that'd be the Cadillac of it. That's
We'll
not,
have
that's,
to-
that's not what's recommended, right? Yeah. I remember, yeah, that piece right there.
And I'm gonna pop my thing, I don't have a speaker, Julie.
That beer.
Yes, I changed the can.
I have a question on the timeline. We're talking about doing an RFP in the spring. Is that what was mentioned just a second ago?
I think once money was allocated, we would probably start the specs for the RFP, bidding out anything that Ty, our consultant, would have recommended us do. These are the scenarios that Ty, our consultant, recommended, which you worked with Ty with. Whatever was selected, most likely in the spring was the goal to say, we're bidding out X, so that would have been the time to start the RFP probably.
Okay. I just wonder, and I'm just thinking out loud, if money's not going to be expended until FY 28, if it's allocated, then wouldn't that be a conversation for FY 28 to get an understanding of what the RFP would entail and the bids back in on what it would actually cost? And then it would be an FY 28 expenditure. Am I wrong on that, in my process?
It's based on the timeline they talked about, that
Yeah.
sounds,
Okay.
We'll just kick the can one minute.
I'm not kicking the can, so we don't have to allocate it this year.
Yeah, I'm
then-
done with that.
It's kind of like putting a bucket, that's nothing filled up into it yet, but the bucket's there.
Okay, I'd like for you to explain that analogy, so we could, because that's what my planning or thought process, Mayor, would like you thinking out loud. Would you explain that, please?
I don't think, I don't promise anything, but it's more, the goal would be aligning with that something needs to be done. We're not gonna immediately drop money in it, but just acknowledging that something probably needs to be fixed in the future, as long as it's been set aside to do it. That's the first step to actually getting it done.
So could we not do the RFP in the spring, get an actual cost on what the bid is, and then have the conversation around?
Yes, we could write that into the specs. That's what, as long as we tell them our timeline, you're still gonna get the same responses. So yes, absolutely, that's.
And so if we
possible.
have the money for the drapes in this year's budget, should we buy?
I do not have one for the drapes. It was allocated in this current fiscal year. It wasn't for drapes, it was for elevator.
200,000 was for elevator, but 265 was for the fire rail.
Yeah, so we just, that's looking
Are
at
the
penny down
elevators
there and
working?
Yes,
Are they safe right now?
yes.
Do we spend any money of that 200,000?
You asked me, have we spent any? No.
what was I'm sorry, what was the contract for the report here? That's gonna come out of the money that we allocated for the flight rail. Do we remember what that was?
So the contract,
Yeah, this for
what
this,
did we pay?
yeah, for this right here.
Yes, what did we pay, 37,
Probably whatever fees,
Yeah,
it's in here somewhere. If there was anything paid towards it, it was consulting fees.
It was a consulting fee, we voted on that, and then we
But
voted
that,
on.
what the mayor presented is actually pretty standard. They don't expect us to put money up front. You can say that's part of the negotiation process of the RFP.
So Tyler Munis would help us with that?
They would have us negotiate it.
I would think he,
The
We
plan,
can
yeah,
track it as a
planning.
pro-
if
we
we're
can track
looking
it
at-
as a project, most likely with Munis.
Yeah, so if we have a bid go out in the spring, then we have the ability to plan and have a conversation on exactly what money, if it's, cause it may not all be done in one fiscal year, right? It may be over 2 fiscal years, and we can plan out that if we need to, instead of just trying to take a big chunk now and get an RFP out for it.
Zach, what kind of response did you have to the bid of the consultant? Because the reservation I have, and Sean, you know this, we brought the person as a consultant, who's also the person that's gonna sell us the solution to the problem they identified.
So when we did we put the RFQ out We hit as many people as we can, so we did only get one response. Part of that response is the consultant and the engineering service that work with them. It was only one response. Tide does work with Bellatex, which is a main manufacturer. Yeah, they're like a nationwide theater group. His background experience, if I remember correctly, is that's his main thing. Tends to be a consultant, and he's bounced around to different entities and reviewed what they have, makes a recommendation. But to answer your question too, most likely when we do the RFP in the spring, if we follow that timeline, we will most likely be beyond parts. I don't think Bellatex is the main manufacturer of the parts, are they?
No.
Okay. He would help us pick potential manufacturers that could save the city discounts by buying straight from the source. But Bellatex has done some work down there, I believe, but he was the only one, was to answer your question.
I'm just wondering, I mean, is there financial incentive for him to identify and then sell us a solution? Yeah, someone's gotta make money.
Yeah, he does know he's probably like one of the premier consultants for something like this, and we didn't have any other takers, but
Yes,
the
very easy.
potential-
There's like
there's not a
three or
lot.
four nationwide.
They
Yeah.
don't manufacture or install fly rail systems.
That's correct. He tends to be a consultant, and I guess just talking out loud, we could put an RFQ out there to see if we can find anyone else. But doing that, you tend to sometimes kind of piss off who you're working with, and maybe they won't follow up. But that is
We've already
a
spent the money.
that is a pretty standard question. He and his group himself will not be doing the work. He'll purely the consultant side. It's very specialized in nature. It's very unique. That's a good question.
Help me, I have difficulty because we budgeted 400,000,
265.
265. And so at some point, we're going to have to buy a curtain. And we budgeted for the amount of money that could buy a curtain that could deal with one OSHA problem. But we don't wanna do that.
What holds the curtain?
The fly rail.
Was the
Well, I mean, it holds up the curtain now.
And I don't want you, it's not like, it needs to be fixed, don't get me wrong, it needs to be fixed. It's still safe to use to a certain extent. You don't wanna keep pushing it and keep seeing how far you can go with this. You don't wanna keep testing it, my thing, but
I don't think anybody will argue that there's not a need for these things. But I think the problem that we keep kind of skirting around is how are we gonna pay for them and fixing our roads that's coming in order to pay for them. I don't think anybody's gonna say that this is not something that needs to happen, and I think that's where we as a council need to get on with, okay, we know these things are needed, it's obvious, and how are we gonna make it work, and what are we gonna do to get it there?
Frank, did you get your question answered? Are you asking, can you just replace the drapes right now with money that's allocated in the budget?
Because we have two OSHA problems. Curtains, the rail system.
the flat rail arbor, yeah, the arbor, really the arbor, which, what the arbor is, it's a rail that separates, like a rail that separates a loading. And it's a 50, 60 feet drop. And what the production crew have to do is reach over. There's nothing but a rail, empty space in the arbor. That weight that you guys saw the other day, that's what you loading in. You loading in like this. You reaching over the rail like this with nothing right here.
And so we fix that how?
You will have to,
It's not a new problem.
I'm thinking you're gonna have the same.
no, it's a way you fix it. I don't
Okay.
know exactly how. That's kind of.
Well, mine was about
What I'm trying to differentiate is what part of the system is old and what part of the system has to be replaced, ASAP.
It's all in this summary. It's an inspection summary in this packet. All the information is in that summary.
So I guess like, if we're talking about not expending any dollars in this fiscal year, then why don't we just work on getting the RFP in the spring and then understand what the dollars are, and then we can include the drapes in that? And that way we're not piecemealing a project together.
I like that idea and would like to agree to that. the majority of council. And, LaShawn, I've got to say, I know personally you were there Saturday, all that, I was gonna give kudos to you, and you reached out to other people, but I would like to concur with that. But it has to be, we'll address that later, but
I
yes.
think we should get the RFP first, and we know exactly what we're dealing with, and then we can have a discussion on what that looks like in the timeline, because it may be that we can budget over 2 years for it, as opposed to trying to just do it all now, we're already spending dollars this year.
Absolutely.
We could view it essentially like a construction project, because even he notes in here, we can buy it straight from the
Yeah,
manufacturer.
and to your point, Frank, yes, Tyler Munis will help us track that over multiple fiscal years, so we can know and prepare for that, if we need to do that.
I think it's not any doubt, this Carl Perkins Center, if you look at Jackson, think about that, especially with that statue up, assuming that's gonna be coming soon, hopefully.
I don't know what's talking about that.
Oh, well, okay, I think there's a group that's working to put a statue of Carl Perkins in the Carl Perkins Center, financed by private money, every bit of it, so yeah.
It's a donation that, you know, the guy who did the display, Randy Williams, he's donating a life-size statue to the Carl Perkins Civic Center of Carl Perkins, and gonna place it in the lobby.
Why can't you donate a curtain with Carl
I found
What
another
is
call
budget
in this
for that?
way.
But basically, we all, that's Jackson, Tennessee, so we gotta have it. But I'd like for us to look at our structure down there and what we're charging. We're losing $602,000 a year if you just count revenue versus expenses. And then the second thing I looked at, and I appreciate putting the economic impact, but what I like to see, it generates 1,800 nights a week from this Tennessee pageant.
I
It
have
brings
that,
the-
I have that.
But anyway, that way it would just help, because this is a big number, but it's covered by some of these other things, and I just like, instead of having dollars, to have some numbers.
You also projected if an upgrade was made, then also you could up the fees.
I mean, yes, we already,
We've
we
done
already doing
upgrades.
that anyway.
We've done some upgrades, you can up those fees all
Yeah,
day
so
long.
the
Market
updated
line.
fee, a price addendum is in the packet as well.
So Sean, something we, since we bring up pretty regular, we've got the same potential at the ballpark. What opportunities do you have to bring in more act shows, et cetera, to the Civic Center?
Well, honestly, I think we bring in quite a bit now, because we are averaging 2 to 3 events per week.
Okay.
So I'm like Saturday night, I had a changeover from table, a banquet style to the risers, just to have a event that Sunday night. So it's back to back to back. I'm to the point where it's hard for me to even book now, because I'm so booked, and we booked after 2030.
Okay, so you got a full calendar.
So answer is zero.
Well, if you try to book something there, like one time we moved away, the foundation moved away from the Civic Center to the farmer's market. I mean, not the farmer's, with the fairground.
When you had a gala at the farmer's market.
The first
Ain't nothing
one.
wrong with farming.
Anyway, but it was hard to get back in
Mhm.
for the date that we had for years and years.
The majority of those events are local, you're using, it's for nonprofits, fundraisers and things
Nonprofits
like that.
making their largest fundraiser of the year. I just wanna tell you all that we're about 5 minutes away for that allotted time. Additional questions? I would like to suggest we follow what Mr. Mayor suggested, and the next your place, but that's would be what I would like to see.
I think for budgeting purposes, then I don't think we don't need to set aside X number of dollars in this coming fiscal year. We can go to the RFP and know exactly what it costs and then plan accordingly based on that.
Good deal. Ready to move on? Do we have a representative for city court?
He said he was coming at 2:30.
Okay, well,
Can anyone talk about city court until 2:30?
Can I talk about what you gonna do at City
No,
Court?
Do we have a fee structure? Anybody?
oh, yeah, I did ask for just a guess of what we could raise that to.
And I sent an email out to the group earlier today, just in round numbers. Let's see.
And top end was around $500,000.
Union violations 20,
So if you double the current cost to an average of $46.20, you could do $127,000.
There's, speaking of, there
Hi.
you go there.
Hey, Mr. Herbert, you wanna come
Oh.
on in, you don't have to sit right here, but we appreciate you being here. Cause we are right now going to ask questions about city court, so you are recognized and, we came up with questions
Okay.
last week. One of the questions is, are we missing revenue?
Yes.
One of the questions was, could we raise the fee? So I'm gonna stop right there. I just wanna bring you up to date with the
Okay.
discussions that we have. So I'd like to stop right there and let either council members, people, and give you the respect again, and we appreciate you being here.
Mr. Howard, I think what the goal would be is to see if there's areas where we can lower expenses and or generate more revenue out of city court. And we rely on you as the expert there.
Okay, we probably, one of the things we do is, we spend a lot on paper because the police department has a new system called e-tickets. It goes to their system, but then it goes to ours, so we have to order different color paper. That's an expense that I think is totally unnecessary. If we could coordinate the systems where when they do e-ticket, it comes straight to us. That's one, and it's also, labor intensive. So you're doubling, where not only they have to print them out, they have to enter them also. So that's one thing that I would encourage the city to look at.
Let's just make notes for now.
Okay.
All right, that's one.
Okay.
So just go ahead and talk to us, and please don't feel this is a way to help move Jackson forward, and you're a critical part of that, so we wanna hear from you from things that are working or not working, and give council an update.
I also think we continue to have a staffing problem. Our turnover rate is extremely high, and you have to understand, once you hire somebody, you gotta train them. And if they don't stay long, it's almost throwing your money away. So we have to deal with, how we can keep retention, how we can retain employees. Because once you get them trained, and they know what they're doing, it makes it a lot easier. Even though it is a labor intensive job, I would try to do my best to keep people. That's one of the problems I've always had.
What do you attribute that to?
Well, there's been, numerous incidents. I think one time the administration put somebody over my office, and they placed them over my office manager, and it got to be a real conflict. And so I lost a couple employees from that in the next same struggle. So that's one of the things. It's like everybody wants to be the chief, but nobody wants to be an Indian. That's not racist, I'm sorry. How about this, a worker?
Clear.
So we have, too many captains and not enough control in the system. That's one of the things I would work on, morale, keeping employees, because, just lost one and we told we can't replace them. So now somebody has to go and do that job. And they're gonna quit doing their job, do that job. I would also think that if we could get an in-house, collection, and you probably, people I work with are pretty nice. They would probably do it not for, just for a little overtime. They could do it a couple hours a week, and would help keep up with some of the collections that we have, because we do have problem collection. Because our people tend to move, disappear, some of them incarcerated, and we just got money laying on the books. Somebody get 5 years and they owe us $3,000, what are we gonna do?
So we currently have a collection agency? that
No,
we're
we had
paying?
one, it did not pan out, and the last collection person, they resigned too, so,
Okay, so currently there's no one in charge of,
of collection, no man.
How much is our collections got on the books now? I'm sorry.
That's good, I was gonna ask that.
I'm sure it's probably a nominal fee, I'm sure it's
I
probably.
mean, give me a ballpark, not holding you to this ballpark.
yeah.
$1 million?
I wouldn't go that high, it'd probably be 300,000 or 400,000 that we still have on the books.
How much of that do you think you could get, or how much people just don't have it?
I would say if you put an intensive effort in, you could probably collect at least half that.
Does it ever disappear, or is it always stay on the books once it's paid?
Years ago, they wrote some of it off, so
How much you think they wrote off?
about 400,000, I want to say, just off the top of my head, but that's not, don't hold me to that.
What are you seeing when people getting tickets, how they pay?
Ticket people tend to pay a little bit better than the criminal side. the people who wanna keep their license, they tend to pay.
What's the majority coming through there, ticket violations versus criminal?
They're pretty close together, even though I'm sure we do have more
You
tickets.
think 50/50,
No, I think we have more tickets, because that's,
60/40?
yeah, something in that nature.
So is that what we would like to look at when we can, is at the actual ticket cost, the fee that is incurred?
The court costs
Mhm.
Well, I probably pay more speeding tickets than anybody else in here, and I'd be willing to pay it, so,
Okay.
I mean,
So how many tickets do we issue in a year or a month?
I am going to say we probably average a couple hundred a week, yeah. And I think that may be, maybe no more than a little bit.
So, when someone gets a speeding ticket, you come to your court, see the judge, are they typically paying out at the window and leaving, or?
Most of the people tend to pay there so they can go to driving school. So the ones that show up tend to pay.
Yeah, I didn't know there was an opportunity to walk away from the.
Yes, we'll give you a court date and a time to come back and pay. If they don't come back and pay, we just send it to the state, and then they get a letter from the state, and then most of them will come in and pay it. Some they just drive it out without a license.
I don't know about.
So
That would pay for a whole new car.
on tickets, I know this is court costs
Mhm.
that was sent to us. Where does the money for the ticket go?
yeah, how's that break down?
We have court litigation, city litigation, fines and court costs. So we give drug court some of the money, some goes to the state, some goes to the city.
Okay, on those tickets, it's about, the average cost is about $23.10, does that sound right? That comes to us.
Court costs.
Yes, that's the,
What's the average ticket price?
$82.
Oh, that's cheap.
Yeah.
So-
Glad Nathan.
That is great.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I've been trying to do a little analysis on this, and I was blessed or cursed to work in the city court for a while. So, state litigation tax 1375 on municipal ordinance violation.
Well, we raised ours to $25 because we had to match what we would give to the drug court, so it's
Okay.
actually 25.
Okay, I wondered why it was so high.
Yeah, we raised it to,
Okay,
so that we couldn't charge more, give drug court more than we could get the state.
okay.
So, help me understand, so drug court, the state, and the city get the $85?
They split it.
Anyway.
It's split 3 ways.
And then we get 20 out of that.
So you get
We
20.
get 20 on top
20 or
of that.
25 in court costs, you get the
Yes,
litigation tax.
we get all of the court costs, that goes directly to the city.
Right,
The litigation tax goes to the city, but
and you get a portion
actually
of the
goes to
state.
drug court, and we get a portion.
Of the state.
2% of litigation tax.
Right, and then some of the fees, some of the fines come back to the city depending on what they were charged with.
Yes,
But in certain fines, you have to send a portion
to the state.
to this one
yes.
or that one.
Mhm.
Right. But the number that the city council could actually adjust is the city court
The
cost.
court costs, that's what I would be focused on if I was continuing to raise revenue.
So we could, well, because it's $85.
No,
Yeah,
court costs is
city
20 or
costs is 20 and 25.
So on the email that he sent out, if we did 2 times the court cost, it's $46, 3 times the court cost is $69, and this has got some odd cents. 4 times the court cost is $92, 5 times is $115.
That's based on average.
And that, if we did 5 times, still at 115, which I feel like is a steal, because I've got tickets everywhere. That is bringing in $483,706.20 of revenue.
How are you driving?
Quick fast.
Recklessly would be.
I'm thinking, do you have a ticket? I mean, do you have a driver's license?
Absolutely.
Just 3 or 4, just 3 or 4.
All right, let's get back together, because we want to give him finished, and JP.
Yeah, because I'm all for raising that, but if somebody doesn't pay, there's nothing we can do.
We
right?
send it to the state sends them a letter, gives them 30 days to either come in and pay it, or they get a suspension.
Now, a lot of those people that, are not paying are people that are less fortunate, right? People that are already.
So we
struggling.
have a suspended driving license court every Tuesday at 9:30 that has about average about 65, 70 people
That's
a
good.
week. Because, yeah, once you get caught without your license, you gotta come back to court and try to fix it.
How do you fix that?
Good money.
Like,
I do think it's worth noting that Judge Anderson, the things he's put into place, just like the driving school, that we're not here to attack, but we've got to be here to figure out ways to increase revenue, and we feel like that's a place we've got. to
Those are
look at.
community projects that I would hope that any one of us would do if we saw a need, particularly with people who are mentally unable to pass the test. So we do have a class to train them to take the test. So it's a community service. I mean, if you guys wanna eliminate it, that's on you guys.
I don't think
You're
that's,
the
I don't
politicians.
think that's at all on the table.
We're just
or
looking
even-
at the
Yeah.
cost of the,
So let me say this while we're looking at it, I just wanna just make sure that whatever we do, that the council recognizes and remembers that the purpose of city court is to dispense justice. It's not to collect money for the city, that's not the purpose of it all, and I don't want us to get into that thought that we need to, collect money for the city, because that's not the purpose of city court at all.
Because
That's
many of the
Dispense
people,
justice.
many of the people who we see, they end up going to jail or prison, and you can't collect from them. And so that makes it even more difficult. So it's a double-edged sword. You have to really be careful of how punitive you become.
This would be your suggestion. You've been there for many years.
I would think, raising court costs, I have some other ideas, but I would not divulge those because that would make me work harder, and I'm not. That's not what I mean. I'm on the way out and not on the way in, so I'm not divulging any of my secrets. But I would agree to meet with the council after, I'm out of office to give you some ideas on how to really raise some money.
So, is the court cost the same for a ticket that's just run through a sign versus going to court?
It depends, certain, fines are state mandated, so if you get a marijuana charge, there's a $250, that's automatic.
But is that court cost or just the fine?
That's just the fine that goes to the state. We get a percentage of that, but
So the fine though, the court cost,
we still
It's
get
the
the
same-
same court cost.
if I do a ticket or I go to court, the court costs are the same.
Right, but
So if I mail in my payment, it's still the same?
it's still the same, yes.
Well, you mentioned like, for the 250 ticket, we get a portion of that?
We
a
get,
third?
no, state's not that nice. I wanna say for marijuana, maybe we get 5% of the 250.
What happens when we
That's
drive?
not a real good
What
deal.
happens if somebody gets driving school versus paying the ticket?
If-
Are they still paying court costs?
They're still paying part of the court costs, but we allow them to, use some of their money to go to the driving school. So,
The vast majority of the revenue that the city is able to see those court costs, local litigation tax, and then the fines that actually can accrue to the
Right.
city. So the general sessions fines that you levy, like marijuana and some of the
Mhm.
misdemeanor stuff, most of that goes somewhere else. Is that
well, if they decide they wanna go to a higher court, they get it, everything goes over there.
And
We get nothing. If they decide, I wanna take it to a higher court, we get out of
Councilman
line.
Wallace, one more question.
No, please.
So, moving violations, if they fail to pay, they get a suspension.
Mhm.
Would you say over time, because those people are gonna wanna get a job that requires a current license, they're gonna wanna sign up for benefits, for example, that require a current license. Would you say that over time, 50 or 60% of people come back and pay? Just looking at what I,
Once I think they miss that initial payment, it goes maybe around 50%.
right, and then the other, so last year, we increased our allowance for uncollectibles to, I don't know what, I've got a report somewhere that you guys send us once a year that shows the
Yes.
receivables. We received our allowance for uncollectibles, raised that by about $1.5 million last year. Based on, because it had not been adjusted for several years. And so there are several, I think there are several million dollars
It may be.
in receivables going back, but as far as what we actually think we can collect, it's $1 million or so, I think is that about right?
That sounds, I wanna say what we are eligible and what we're gonna, I'd say
What we think we can
half, yeah,
collect.
half of that probably could be collected, 'cause like I said, some of those people are
Yeah.
deceased in jail.
Half of the million.
Yeah, I think we could probably, I could have that.
So we had a collection agent at one time, but we had someone now to do it too, or when we had collection agents, we had.
Yeah, we had, what happens with the collection agency, they need a clerk to work with, and they also need them to do a lot of the labor. Yeah, for the collection agency, and then when they turn it in, they get, it's
How
like,
much percent?
yeah, they get a nice percent more, they got a nice percentage, and they didn't collect much.
When
Yeah,
you say they have to do the legwork, what are you talking about? Like, you gotta find, locate
like
the
they'll call you,
person,
yeah,
and
where,
then
what's the
phone
last
number.
address on this person, you have a phone number for them,
That
so.
seems like that should be their job.
Yeah, that's what we would think, but they would call us and email us, and it's time consuming for people who already got enough to do. That's my point. When you're understaffed, we were full staff for the first time since I've been here, and we just lost an employee, so we're back kinda,
When you say you lost, did they quit or did they retire?
they quit.
And you quit because too much workload?
Yeah, too much work, not enough money, that kind of thing, and that's the thing about it. Even though I try to tell people TCRS is worth it, don't look at your salary, look at TCRS. You know, young people not gonna, they don't think like that.
No, I was just about to ask you, as a young person.
Yes,
I was
it
about
was
to
a young,
ask
it was a
that.
young lady, yes.
Well, we've tried to get with MTS and, get a consultant in here to help, and,
That's been 5 years.
that was a,
Yeah.
you know,
It's 5 years, and I still think we need to go over that person. We deserve the respect to get an answer back of why we never got that. That was started with the code committee 5 years ago.
And I sent an email to
You
the,
did.
to the guy, just last week again. I sent one a year ago,
You
and
did.
he called me, and I sent one the other day because I never heard back from him. And I haven't heard from him in
What was
response to
this?
that. The MTS.
The
Did
code
he give a reason
committee,
all why he just not responding?
No, last time when he called, he said that he just got behind and stuff like that. And he would, that was in October of last year. And he said that he would, have it done by, sorry, it was September last year. Said he had it done by November of last year. So when we discussed it the other day here, I wrote him again, copied the, vice mayor and, Mr. Reed on it, and have not heard anything from him.
as much as I hate the idea of creating another expense, do we know if there's anyone in the private sector who could perform a similar service?
Sure, we can find somebody.
Did we pay for it, or is it that's all free?
I think it's free.
You got what we paid for it?
It was definitely pretty.
Well, I mean,
Heard from anybody.
free doesn't do anything, it doesn't show up.
but I do think that person should be held accountable for not doing their job, because it's been 5 years, and I have started that, it's at the beginning of my emails.
I was also wondering if we somehow tap the private sector or consultant.
Now, let's get back together, because everybody, I wanna hear what you're saying, but Russ, please.
Yeah, I mean, if we got help in the private sector, I mean, that is something, if we're able to drive efficiency and grow our revenues, and it could possibly pay for itself.
And
It's hard to know what to do.
yeah, and it may be some grants I did, which we might look into a grant writer to find some, because you probably could find a way to help some of these people who are in it, that can't afford the less than you, so that would be something I would look into, maybe. some
We have a
grants.
payment plan for most of those. something
Yes,
like
we have a payment plan.
Has Abby looked at anything like that?
I don't think she's come across anything for city courts yet, but we can certainly keep our eye out.
Yeah, I'd love to at least check.
Is there any way that they could do service hours to get some of their fines down?
Well, I'm already on probation, because once you're convicted of driving without a license, you go to probation, and that's a whole nother fee
That's what I'm
that
saying.
they have to pay, and many of them are afraid not to pay probation because they can get rearrested, whether you pay your court costs or your probation. And probation is a little bit stricter than we are because they have certain
Yeah.
things they can do. They can drug test you, and if you don't have money, but you can smoke weed, so we can't do that.
Smoke the weed.
I'm sorry.
Our JPD friends, the e-ticket, who could we talk to see if those two systems could?
Yeah, I'll talk to Lieutenant Turner about that, see what they're doing. That's the first I'm hearing about it on their end of it.
There is a way to import those.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
That would cut down on a lot of labor.
Grounds crew?
They only have
Would you say one
to-
person?
Hmm?
Would you say one person?
That job could probably, it would help with the manpower if we could coordinate those e-tickets to go directly to our system. That could probably cover for the person that we don't have right now. That would make it, somewhat bearable, I imagine.
So I asked Markeisha if she would help me. So some of the things we've come up with is there's approximately 200,000 in collections that we're not getting because of the collection agency. Possibly raise the rate. We need to look at possibly a grant and then get the e-tickets on the same system. What other comments have come from this discussion that we need to look at further?
I was just asking him if there was a way that people who couldn't afford their fines, if they could do certain things, like even litter crews, to get some of them cleaned up, and that would take some off of our grounds crew, where they could be going and, dealing with bigger issues, and then clean up. That way they could get their license back, they could get back to work, they could get to doing some stuff.
See, a lot of problems, they're gonna have to pay the state also. The state doesn't have a little crew.
Well, taking a chunk off.
Yeah,
you know,
it would help them on our side.
It would help them on
It would
part
help
of
them
it.
on our
Posting
side.
for us to get somebody monitoring them too.
I do it.
You too busy spending.
As fast as you drive.
Yeah, fast as I drive, I can get to and from, and we gonna be done. Give me a van.
Okay, and, Nathan, if we could impose upon you and the mayor to keep addressing how we can raise that rate so we can get a figure on that.
I mean, the numbers that you've got here are pretty good
Okay.
estimate.
So is the next step for us to vote on what
I
we?
think the next step is you all wanna raise it, give us a recommendation on what you
Okay.
wanna raise it to, and then we can get the legal draft and ordinance, cause it has to be done by ordinance.
Okay, so at the end of the meeting, that could be something we can talk about that recommendation. Does anybody have further questions for Mr.
I would
Hubbard?
like to take Mr. Hubbard up on his office, said that he would at least talk to the council.
Yeah.
How we could probably possibly raise,
Quite a few.
Yeah.
dollars.
give us some ideas, I know.
I can't tell
Be
you
willing
how
to
much
listen.
that would make me have to work. I'm already short staffed, so I'm trying to slide out these.
So I think for now, we can, try to get these e-tickets talking,
Okay.
look at additional revenues, and then figure out a plan for collection. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if we can get some relief to the e-tickets, then maybe that could.
That would,
Put some deal.
I'm sure I might put it like me a little bit more.
Well, and I know from my own business experience, it takes a special kind of person to do that collections job.
Yeah.
People don't want to,
And you know how that is.
people are reluctant to make that call.
Further discussion? Mr. Hubbard, thank you, and you
Thank you
please,
guys for
continue to stay with us, but we need to have the knowledge and appreciate you being.
Y'all invite me back after the next one. I
Okay,
got some
we'll do
stuff.
it.
And enjoy the pending retirement once that comes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm ready.
Get that rest.
Mayor, can you buy me out or anything? No?
No, I've been a long time over good.
Thank you, ladies and
Time to
gentlemen.
suspend with the pot violation.
I'll try it.
so everybody smoke.
Have a good one.
Okay, thank you so much. At this time, Austin, if you would like to come over here, I think this is gonna be a good spot for people that we're talking to.
Sure.
So let's give our attention to Austin Clark with Public Works.
I was asked to,
Chris, you just say we're off on the city institute.
I was asked to answer any questions you might have about generating revenues from stormwater fees. I know that's been a topic of discussion in the past. Just to give you a little stats, the city of Jackson is not biggest in population, 6th biggest in size, 30th if we implement this ordinance. And the only reason we hadn't brought it to you before is because the stormwater assessment project is still continuing. That data won't be completed until the end of September, and we more than likely won't have a bottom line, a model number that shows, here's the amount of money we need to invest on a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 15-year plan, so that we can plan out infrastructure improvements. I wish Stan was in here, he could reiterate a little bit more. We had already done.
We got 30 minutes.
He'll be here.
No, we only have 30 minutes.
Okay, that's true. One piece of that stormwater fee was impervious surface. So we created the ordinance. We had Patrick go through and give a unit number, a size throughout the, just an average unit number for roof and driveway of homes throughout the city. And we came up with a determining size, and what you do is multiply that based on the size of roof and driveway or asphalt parking lots for impervious surface, so water runoff. And there's a fee associated with the size of the unit. So X amount of units is X amount of cost per month. At a one-time fee that they would pay in tax season. it's the best way we figured out how to enforce it. Typically, you would wanna put that on like a monthly bill, like with J-Gate, for instance. They were gonna charge us, basically, the fee that we were actually looking at charging initially, per month, J-Gate was gonna charge us 50 cents higher than that, just to run the bills for us, so technically we'd lose money the second one in. So the only reason why we kind of brought that ordinance in front of you, and we know that this is we're obviously behind the eight ball. We're the 30th city, and sixth in size and ninth in population, clearly we're behind. This is a mechanism.
Say that again, like where we are in the state, and then how far down we are.
Ninth in population, sixth in size, 30th to implement
Okay,
this.
I think that's a strong statement.
It makes your stormwater department and the operations and capital improvements, sole sourced. It's already fully funded.
Regulates solid waste.
Yep. Money can only be spent in that department. So the money generated is spent specifically for stormwater and stormwater.
I love that.
Just on getting into the ordinance, that you have a square footage of the roof and all. What's it on 2 acres versus a 0 lot line? Those different.
That's the impervious surface is what you're accounting for, not the pervious surface. So grass doesn't count, either even.
Yeah, but you could use your.
In the ordinance we gave, for instance, if you owned a large chain grocery store and had an enormous roof, enormous parking lot, there are credits that they can get for unutilized parking areas turned into more greenscape, landscape type of things to help some of the commercial business out in that sense, underutilized.
What's the grant situation here?
Stormwater?
Yeah.
Struggling, be perfectly honest with you. Are you talking about grants for stormwater specifically?
Yeah.
We had 6 projects, that we were looking at funding through FEMA. That's been going on for 4 or 5 years. We've still not seen a dime from them. As a matter of fact, we've actually had to start making improvements already to some of those. There's actually only 4 left. I think we started with 6, there's 5 left, because we had no choice. We had to move on it, or else it was gonna start eroding roads and private property, so we had no choice but to do it. And one of those, on that grant is Old Hickory, right in front of Andrew Jackson School. 5 years ago, it was a $2 million project. I can only imagine what it's gonna be today. But it's, well, that's the importance of this stormwater fee, being able to afford these things. Nobody likes it. I think everybody in this room is probably a taxpayer. It's a lot easier to swallow that pill when you can see where those dollars are being invested. And, not to make an excuse, but I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. If we see where those dollars are spent, it's easier to swallow it, so.
You had one in District 8 last year where y'all poked a shovel into the side of the road and found out you had a whole unplanned expense there, new pipe, put fresh blacktop back over it. So I mean, there's reasonable to think there may be more land.
Absolutely. Oh, we thought about that.
How long will your survey be finished?
Survey will be completed at the end of September. Before the end of the year.
Our goal is to have an ordinance in front of you all by November, so you can have second reading in December, so it can be a part of the assessment in calendar year 27.
Okay, so to perfectly make that clear, what they're talking about, I just wanna make sure we're all on the same page, is there will be a fee assessed when you pay your property taxes. And that's 100%, in my view, I'm 1,000% for it. I'll go on record by saying that, because I have for 7 years.
In most instances where it's a monthly fee, the municipality owns the utility district, so they can put it on a utility bill. We don't own our utility district, and so we don't have the same luxury that those others do.
So the only enforcement we have is utilize.
So they're not cooperating with us, is that what you're saying?
They are, but it costs them money to do it, and so the cost, they would obviously transfer that cost on to us, and it wouldn't end up costing us money over the fee on what we're looking at charging.
And the enforcement side of that, if somebody decides they're not gonna pay their stormwater fee, is JA gonna cut their water on? You know what I mean? So, we think that's the best avenue for enforcement.
Do you have an average expected calls per household?
Initially, was $3.50, I think, a month, is what we were looking at. Now, that's without the stormwater assessment project bottom line calculated in.
That's why
That
we're
was-
waiting, because we don't wanna get like what Nashville did and put it too low, and
Right.
then hang on too low, and then have to almost, I think almost triple it, maybe it's over double one year, because they just couldn't keep it up.
Well, it's just hypothetically, you know, approximately $5 a month, and put this in a position where stormwater is something we can, you know, a lot of catching up to do, but at some point, maybe be proactive.
Don't quote me on this, but if I remember it correctly, at $3.50 per unit, and calculated out with all the roads and driveways in the city, I think it generated around 3 million, 3.2 million.
That's near double what your current stormwater budget is.
And this is based on each house?
Yes.
Based on a standard residential unit.
So if you own,
Residential and commercial are different.
if you own, like,
You see, you
a house
multi-
working on, a storage house,
Well, let's consider the cause and effect too, because if we could do this, add to stormwater and, you know, fund it off of everything else, that frees up the current stormwater budget to go out to different departments that they themselves are lacking in places.
Right, there'll be an enterprise, so all those funds that are currently leaving the general fund go into it and stay in the general fund.
Mr. Mayor, what,
Yeah, it was some of the measurements, so standard residential unit would be applied based on a multiplier for commercial. And so it'd be a multiplier for impervious surface for commercial, so it wouldn't be $3, it would be whatever the multiplier for the standard residential.
That frees up money for raises and capitals across the board.
the second part of that then I addressed before we thinking about spending is, can you address when you came here, your crew, what you really needed? Just talk me through that, and then I have a couple of questions.
Based on the needs of our existing stormwater department, we've got 8 guys and a director. That gives us the ability to have 2 teams sent in different directions. I think if we had 3 5-man teams, 15 and a director, I think that would bring us up to where we were, I think about 15 years ago, is what I was told. There was 15, 16 individuals. At least then, I mean, once we implement the fee, we're gonna have the funds and the capital to get out there to make improvements. We're gonna have to have manpower to do it.
Okay. When you say stormwater, and then I'm thinking public works also. Take for instance, we have a tornado. These crews can be used for road maintenance. Also, I wanna address the equipment that we bought that we are able to use and do ourselves, which could be sidewalks, which could be paving of the smaller roads. Do we have an adequate amount of people to efficiently use what we have? My thing is not just trying to pick apart where we can cut costs, but how can we be more efficient with the money that we have and how to run it?
We're borrowing, we're creating our paving crew, borrowing from other teams, and other crews within the department. We make it work. With 5, 6 men, we're able to get out, or individuals, we're able to get out and pave streets efficiently as we can. I don't think it makes sense for us to hire full-time employees specifically for that because it's seasonal. We're not paving in the winter. What do we do with them then? It's just a cost you accrue paying someone. You know, you can split the responsibilities up and reinforce crews, but I'm sure that makes sense.
So do you feel like with your current budget that you don't need any additional people?
People, no. Funding, yes. To state the obvious, infrastructure improvement only happens with investment.
say it again.
Infrastructure improvements only happens with investment. And it degrades every single day. So if we're not investing adequately into it, we're gonna see a lot of what we see. Just degrading infrastructure, so.
Hold on just 1 second, Candace. No,
Okay.
hold on just 1 second.
It's just, it's important that we invest an adequate amount of money for all of our infrastructure, whether that's streets or stormwater or signs and our signals. It's important.
What's your number, the stormwater set aside, what's your number you need to invest each year?
Don't know what the bottom line is. The stormwater assessment project, that bottom line.
That's stormwater.
Stormwater.
Everything else is what we're talking about.
Everything else?
I think you should just say infrastructure, or what are you addressing to him? Roads, or what are you addressing?
All of public,
And we all gotta pay for it.
all of public works is about $22 million. That's
22.
operational costs, that's
Yes.
health and sanitation included, that makes up 50%, 70% probably.
Austin?
Were you asking what it's gonna cost for infrastructure and maintenance, Councilman Lawrence?
Basically.
I mean, how much would you set aside a year for his?
For improving
For
and money.
improving and maintaining.
My number's gonna be bigger than
Can you write that good?
I don't know.
Well, that's good.
I don't know, and I don't wanna lie to you, but I think that's a number we can come up with. I think it's a number we need to come up with for budgeting purposes in the future.
Amen.
Okay, so can we agree right now, stormwater assessment fee is coming probably next year? And in the form of $3 to $4 per household, but that is per month. So that would be a lump time fee, not $3 or $4 per month, because remember, JEA can't do that.
I can't promise that amount, just because I don't
Yeah,
know what the
we're
bottom
just-
line
yeah.
is, for the stormwater system.
Yeah. And I would like to say, Austin, you are always right, Johnny, on the spot. You're out there working, everything that you do. I appreciate you 1,000%, and I appreciate everything that you're doing.
My pleasure. Last night, I'll kick myself for not mentioning this. We've had some leadership come in front of you and talk about investing in our employees, which are our greatest asset. They talked about the 2.5% increase, and I appreciate all of them agreeing to do that. It's not enough. Here's the only reason I say that. I'm not saying that from a greedy standpoint of wanting more. We've got laborers that start in public works with bare minimum skills, and after a couple of years, they're certified operators, but I can't promote them because we don't have money to promote them. I've got certified operators that come to us, and a couple of years later, now they're crew leaders, they're team leaders, they've got their own teams, and I can't promote them because we don't have money to promote them. And then those same crew leaders and team leaders, now they're supervising multiple teams and crews, and we still can't promote them. I feel like we're in a cycle of training people for their next position somewhere else. And that's a shame, because we're really investing in people. These folks are deserving of it. And hope we can do something about it.
That's why you're a good leader. You just said that. We appreciate all of that.
Let me ask you this quick question, it's just a yes or no answer if you know. On Royal Street near Royal Elm Apartments, there was like about a 10-foot section across Royal Street that was in real bad shape.
Yes, sir.
And that section's been paved. Was that done by Ford or done by? Who did that?
In-house crew.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Austin. All right, does anybody have any additional questions or thoughts or needs to address about our office? Okay, let's move forward. We want to cover Parks and Recs, and we have Christie here.
Hello.
Hi, Christie.
So I brought some stuff for y'all today, just some information, about where we're looking, today, and then where we're looking the next 5 years. You'll take, Marta, what's stapled, and then there's a blue sheet behind every staple packet that needs to go. So, you'll see our capital request for the next 5 years. This aligns with our master plan. I've also included the implementation guide that is in our master plan so that you can see that all the projects there line up with what's been recommended. And you can see what's currently funded by grants and, what is not funded right now.
All right, tell us where to look.
Let everybody get.
Yeah.
I just want to everybody get back together and let her. But everybody would laugh at me if I said, hey, look at this. I should have already said that.
Okay, so that first sheet you see funded and active projects, the first,
This one?
bolded This one, the staple packet. It says anticipated completion by April 30th. All those projects, that you see listed there are completed. So we have, completed Stella Duncan Park. Restrooms will be stocked this week and hopefully open next week for use. Shirley Mercer, same thing, the restroom there is ready, and we're gonna stock it this week and get it open. The walking trail has been completed at Shirley Mercer. There is a sinkhole that developed in our new, walking trail there. JEA has taken responsibility for that. It's an old sewer line. They were locating it last week and we're gonna dig it up. They're gonna repave that section for us. So, that should be resolved soon.
Where is that again?
Shirley Mercer. It's on the 2nd Street and Day Street parking lot, on that section. And then Wallace Road is done. If you haven't been by there, I would suggest you all go by and look. It looks amazing.
That's ever looked.
Well,
maybe
it's got a parking lot,
Yeah.
they got a walking trail, it's lit, so. And then Windy City Road, we're expecting that to be completed by July 1. That's our new, park playground, that's gonna be next to the fire station. And then Melissa's Park, if you all remember, we had funds set aside for the skate park. The skate park came in over budget, so we decided to reallocate those funds to Melissa's. We are opening those bids next week, so that work will start at Melissa's probably in the next, I would say 60 to 90 days. Cypress Grove Phase 1 has been funded, by a grant. Phase 2, we are waiting on, the award notification. We've been working on this grant since last spring, but that is a federal grant, so we will probably not be notified until September. It is a $550,000 grant, which is a 50-50 match, so we will be responsible for $225,000. Then of course you see the Sportsplex is on there, that has already, been funded. And scratch the new fly rail system. I know y'all talked about that a lot. I know it's not funded yet, but, the interior painting has been completed and, the risers have been completed at the Civic Center.
The painting made a lot of difference and looks really nice.
It's beautiful.
I even got that back in, and I'm like, the lighting have been replaced, we've upgraded the lighting in there as well, as LED lighting in the balcony now, right, you can see.
Now, the next section you will see is unfunded and planned projects. This is a 5-year outlook. As you can see, the top 2 things is citywide ADA improvement every year, $250,000 committed to that annually. And then $125,000 annually toward lighting. We really need to get all of our parks, onto LED lighting, our sports fields particularly. And so that is our goal, is to fund those until we get those projects completed. Cypress Grove will have, the remaining phases to be done. So with phase 1 and phase 2, we're gonna get about 2,300 linear feet of boardwalk done. That is total about a third. So, we will not be near complete yet, but, we will be hopefully funding that project, through.
That's phase 1 and 2.
Phase 1 and 2 is funded right now. And then these are unfunded projects that we will need to fund and continue.
You have a date when you wanna do those?
This is just the 5-year outlook, so, there's not, just within the next 5 years, we will need to start allocating. On the back side of that, you'll see, I kinda have a table there. The other, probably the most important thing on there is Gabriel's Garden, which is our, fully accessible playground at North Park. It is up. It's reached its lifespan. It was put in 2007, so we're coming up on 20 years. In all fairness, you all know that, a lot of our parks have had deferred maintenance. Gabriel's Garden was not exempt to that, so it aged faster than what it would have had it been maintained. So we're gonna need to replace it sooner rather than later. That ask is gonna be probably $2.5 million. That is what those accessible playgrounds are running right now. As I shared with our board, we cannot continue to rely just on grants to fund Parks and Rec. We have to start planning for these things, and create a sustainability plan, because, grants are competitive. We have went, Mayor knows we went for Blue Cross Blue Shield. I know twice that I've done it, once when Lauren was here, and we haven't gotten it yet. We will go after it again this year for North Park, and that'll be, that would take care of Gabriel's Garden if we were awarded it, but we just can't keep hoping that we're gonna be awarded and not doing these projects.
Was Gabriel Garden private funded when it was built?
It was a, public-private.
Is anybody we could look at that?
Yeah, not completely, it was, yeah.
$500,000 to the foundation.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, it was a little bit of public-private dollars there.
Is there anything we can do to keep some revenue generating off of some of these other parks? I mean, I know certain places do, but I don't think some do.
So we've been looking at our MOUs, that's one of the things that our board has been tasked with. And so part of that is just making sure that we are being equitable about our fees. This year, we implemented a $5 per player fee for the ball league out south, to match our $5 per player league soccer at North Park. So those MOUs are ongoing. We are expecting some of that to generate some revenue, but I don't think it's gonna be to the point of what we need.
I have a question. What about pickleball and tennis? They do tournaments and everything. How can we get a piece of that because we supply the city of doing that?
Right. So right now, they pay a fee to rent our facilities. But with our MOU that legal's looking at right now, there will be a per player fee for their tournaments. Just like we do right now, a per player fee for the leagues. It'll be probably something around $5, per player, per tournament.
Does that fee go directly back into your budget, and is that fee accounted for, Nathan?
So, yeah, if you look under the revenue side, there's, rec admin, there's different types of fees there.
Athletic fees were $81,000, and the cost for the expenses, that was $361,000. So it's not gonna cover it all.
So I've got a question, on like Westwood Recreation Center, like I've got 2 kids playing ball there right now. And then I sponsored a bunch of the teams because the people weren't, where did all that money go? Does it go back into your hand, or is it going in, what's it going
It
into?
goes to the
Because
general fund.
Athletics revenue.
$9,300.
Okay. Wait a second, what's
Westwood.
a general fund?
Yes.
We're not.
We've done some homework on it.
Yeah, it's $9,300 is revenue generated, $4,306,000.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. $436,000 is the cost, revenue generated was $9,300. I just took the budget here, revenue for those.
And that's the revenue for all the parks?
No, athletics.
Or just
That-
athletics?
Athletics will be broken out different than.
Yeah, athletics are different, they are.
So when you're sponsoring a team or signing up, then that's going into the athletics revenue line item, not Westwood line item.
Yeah.
What Larry's done is
Is
taken.
there a way to put a fee on top of those that would go back in? Because I mean, $35 and $40 is not gonna knock people out. Is there a way to put in another $5 on top of stuff like that to go back into
Like to
their
increase the
actual?
fees. I mean, I think increasing, like you just said.
That's what I'm at, like, could it be for less than 35, could it be 40, and then that 5 would come back into you guys?
I thought the charter had something in it about us. Does it not have something about levying a
Property tax levy.
Yeah, parks, property tax.
The athletics were 81,000 revenue generated, 361,000 costs. So you can eat into that, but you're not gonna eat all of it. And I'm not saying you don't do these projects, but we just need to recognize what they're costing.
It's worth understanding that things like athletics and Westwood, you boiled it down to one big number, but there's a lot going on there that's not directly providing those services. I mean, there are facilities, there are a lot of things. Right.
You'll upkeep, the staff that's there when we go to practice, I get that. I'm just wondering if there was a way to put something on top that would go specifically.
I think we have options to improve revenue. For instance, right now on Saturdays when we've got soccer league games going on out there, we're not running concessions.
Yeah.
And so there's opportunity there. We wouldn't necessarily have to run them. We could, contract that out. That's what East Ridge, Tennessee does. She told me she makes $80,000 a year.
That's what they do at
on
Pope
her
Park, they
concession.
contract it out,
Yep. So-
and they're doing it that way, and in the past, they've done it to where they bought the supplies, but like at this point, they're letting some people who just do cook while they're doing.
And we would just get a percentage off of that contract. So I think that there's some opportunity there. We should have to explore that and see what we can come up with.
And your new recreation management software is gonna allow you to capture some statistics on this stuff that we previously haven't had, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, so our new software is gonna allow us to do a lot of, data-driven decisions. Another thing that it will allow us to do is we can rent our courts and our fields from that software. We have been reviewing usage, so like at the indoor tennis center, we increased pickleball time because our 3 months of pickleball on weekends only surpassed our tennis usage. So, we do look at those things to see, where can we change and get a better outcome. The other thing that I've included is.
I still have a question.
Yeah.
He's not finished with them you, if it's okay. Larry just
Okay, yeah.
finished and then move to Frank.
You first.
Okay, so help me understand back to Cypress Park. Are we 2/3 from being finished or are we finished 2/3? You mentioned the term 2/3.
Yeah, so when we get phase 1 and 2 completed, that will be a third of the
1/3,
boardwalk.
okay. So
Yes.
these next 3 phases will be finished at 2/3?
Correct.
Larry, you
Okay, someone mentioned, the recreational admin, that's $821,000. What's some big things in that?
You're talking about the budget as a whole?
Just the recreational admin respect, so.
So our salaries for the administrative level, so, the director, superintendent, community engagement, work operations, those salaries fall under that line item. Up until this year, this is the first year that we actually pulled out other positions and we're paying them out of their respective line items. So, for instance, for decades, Westwood summer camp counselors was paid out of rec admin. This year, they're being paid out of Westwood instead of rec admin.
Hold on just a second, because we want to hear what y'all were saying.
Oh, okay. Well, so those are some salaries, but now the things I've been noting earlier have the salaries in them too. Like South Jackson, Senior Activity, Westwood, T.R. Wright, so those are salaries on top of these salaries.
Yeah, those are salaries for that specific building.
So,
And also they're operating for the year, so their operating supplies, their contractual services, those kind of things.
okay, so the $820,000 though is just mainly other salaries. Not anything.
I mean, it's to carry the recreation administration for the year, so it's not just salaries, it's our supplies, it's our phones, our vehicle, fuel, security, so a big piece of that, you'll see in the second sheet that I gave you, a big piece of that 800,000 is our contract with MaxGuard. We pay them right now about $710 a week per facility. We're fixing to add 2 more to them, so that means that we're gonna be paying MaxGuard about $2,300 a week.
Is there a way that we can do that?
Yeah, we're about to get to that.
So the spreadsheet that came behind, that wasn't stapled to the packet, that lays out a plan to hire 3 to 4 part-time staff. Those are just some rough figures, but, the hourly wage would be $16.02. They would work anywhere from 85 to 90 hours a week, split between 4. Their responsibilities would include cleaning and stocking the restrooms at night, pulling trash, locking everything up. And then that relieves groundskeeping in the morning. Right now, groundskeeping's having to go in, unlock, clean, stock, do all that. So not only will we be saving money, we would also be helping groundskeeping out, so that they could get started with their duties.
Does the county not have their own security for their parks?
There's a park
The
ranger
county
that's
has-
about to go away.
They have 1 park ranger.
I was thinking that when we were having the Christmas lights at Pewborn, that they had a security guy in a
They have one park
county.
ranger for every park.
And that park ranger, I was told, is not likely to be included in their next budget.
Okay.
It seems that position, makes people really sleepy.
Well, I love option A. I love that idea. I think that's wonderful. And that's $50,000 saved right there. I like that. I mean,
Will you bring that back to their end too for us? I'll make sure we're getting these.
Now,
Would you write that down?
One of the things that doesn't include, it would be a vehicle for them. Again, this is just my thoughts, would be that, since they're working afternoon, evening, night, they could use grounds vehicles. They could go out, we could put lights on those, and they could use those vehicles to go around. They're already stocked with everything that they need as far as toilet paper, paper towels, trash bags. But they would be, they would have more responsibilities than just riding around the parks. They would ensure that the bathrooms are ready and clean. They would turn on lights for fields and games and practices. I really think that there's an opportunity there for us to have savings, and get this position covered.
So if the $50,000, is that the cost of the position, or I wanna hear what, it's $50,000 in savings?
yes.
Okay.
Well, 42,000 in savings.
Okay, yeah,
Or
got that.
38,000 if we did the 90 weeks. I think it'd be smart to start with the A, see how it goes. And if we need to increase, have B as your backup.
I like that.
I wish we could run that up. Wish we could run that up to 50. Let's get, and how quickly can something like that be implemented?
As quick as we can hire people.
Yeah, I mean, post the positions and, get people in. It's a great job for college students, retirees. I got the plan and the job description and everything from Farragut, Tennessee. They have these, they call them park attendants. So.
Are the MaxGuard people armed?
I'm not sure. I think they are, and we would need to keep that contract for some, like for our events that we have them come in and work.
It's an as-needed contract.
Yeah.
Well, case in point, it's the AMP. We have a max guard that sits right there, watching who comes in and out of the sponsored areas.
We've used that like for events we have in parks that we don't wanna use full officers and pay overtime, we use our contract with Max Guard for stuff like that. So it's a as needed, it's not they can work this amount of hours, so.
They get their garden VIP area.
Parking.
I thought you said the VIP area. I was like, too much for me.
Frank, I'm gonna challenge you to become that MaxGuard agent so that
I'm
we
very
can
helpful you.
alleviate contractual services.
You said I am.
You can be
Do you want Frank with a gun at the end?
He just needs a camera. His gun is a camera, that's all.
I've seen some of those guys. I'd feel more safe with Frank.
We did lose, one of our guards did pass away with that.
Now, Chrissy, something else, because you mentioned park attendants, and this is something we've had,
Let's get back to the other
Had to get
one.
control.
we've had conversation with the Parks Board about, the vast number of attendants we have for all these different rooftops that are under the purview of rec and parks. Is there a way where we could live without as many attendants? That we have them, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's an attendant for every single rec and park building.
Yes. So what I will say is that in some of those buildings, our attendants are vital. And I'll use South Jackson and the Senior Center as examples. They have set up and tear down all throughout the day for the activities that they have going on. And Pee Wee can't do all that by herself. So those two locations, I don't see us going without having someone there to help do that. Westwood and TR White during the summer, they have to have someone there, for summer camp. But I would think that there's probably an opportunity for us to create like an environmental services team or something like that, that could share duties at like the NED, the Carnegie, places like that.
Well, that's what I was wondering too, because, yeah, you mentioned summer camp, yes, we need you got a lot of TP to change. Well, the little kids running around Westwood, that's, you can't get away from that. Is there opportunities though to, you know, stock that seasonally and that involved to part-time? I mean, because that's, the cost for attendance is pretty large, and there is quite possibly some duplication there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a conversation, you know, that we could have there. There might be the ability to do part-time instead of full-time, you know. I think there's definitely some conversation that can be had around that, and, you know, if there's some opportunity there.
Is there anywhere that you feel like there couldn't be somebody every day?
Say that again.
Just know if you can let go, I apologize, just say
No,
it
like,
louder.
is there, when he's saying that some of these we've got attendance and all these different, could we not kind of migrate maybe one person doing two, or?
Yeah,
Is there
like for
any-
instance,
what
at the
would be-
Carnegie,
Yeah,
you know, when I could see when they have an event, or the Ned has an event, they have weekend shows, night shows, you know, we would need someone there for those. But they're so close to each other that you know, that position could probably be a shared role. You know, that would be one that I would say could probably be a shared role. Right now, our attendant at Westwood also cleans Northside Lions Club, which they, you know, they like have nonprofit meetings there during the week, so it's not super active. So we do have, you know, that person shared that responsibility.
I wanted to say, good job, of course, but, my thing would be, Whitney does a fundraiser, I would be willing to help, I think a fundraiser for parks and stuff, to have a fun party. I think we could just look into it, that's just a suggestion.
Yeah,
We
like-
could have
however,
some-
those parties cost about $20,000 to $30,000.
That's what we
We
would
have a
have
park
to.
partners program that they're working on potential sponsorships for different areas. of
Actually,
parks.
really
So
raise
they're
money
working on,
easily.
they're working on standing that up.
That sounds, okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
We have asked our, you know, kind of challenged our board to take that to, you know, hopefully create a Friends of group or something like that, model it like that so that we can have opportunities like that.
Can there be corporate sponsors?
Yeah, that's part of, we get the friends of.
That's where the money would be.
Adopt a park.
Yeah.
I'll adopt the smallest one.
Yeah, well, you're.
Oh, Julie.
I have the park for you, Julie.
Huh?
I said I have the park for you.
As long as it's small, don't need a lot.
Well, and Chrissy, one other thing is, like with athletics and programming, we got a lot of people there. Do we have any opportunities, like with the new software, and AI's built in everything? I mean, is there a way that technology could alleviate some of the manpower for athletics and program needs?
I'm not sure about that. I feel like there's opportunity for us to structure the positions to be more efficient. I think that there's opportunity for that.
We're coming up on 3:30, additional questions, needs from Christie.
You don't have anything to do with the ball.
No, sir. Not, well, I mean, it falls under us, but LaShawn would probably, LaShawn and Jason.
Am I looking at the numbers right? We get 50,000 in revenue and spending 481,000.
So that would be the Jackson ballpark.
Is that correct?
You have to ask
So
Nathan
we're
or the
losing,
mayor.
we're losing almost a half million a year.
Well, address your question either Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor
it was,
or.
it was cut down from 1.4 million a year, so.
Well, let's raise it to 3 and then cut it to 1 again and say 2.
Yeah.
Well, no, seriously, if we got, what's long-term look like?
We have 5 more years on the contract with the market business. 4 more, actually.
So we're responsible for what, upkeep or?
Upkeep of the other facility.
And we got 4 more years at a $400,000.
Yeah, we were paying marketing and we're paying for everything. Fireworks and all kinds of stuff. So.
All right, jot down your things that you think that you can either find efficiency or money savings in the park and rec. And if everyone's finished there, I'd like to move on to nonprofits and ask Juan to give us an update, help us understand the difference in nonprofits and needed contributions.
Before he does that, may I have ask you a question, Vice Mayor? I have a 3:50 doctor's appointment.
Yes, sir.
May I ask a non-related question that I need to just have answers so I'll know how I
Yes,
go.
sir.
To the mayor and to Ron and to Nathan. It's my understanding, you tell me if I'm wrong, that at one point, the tax rate in the city was $1.90-some. And then because of whatever the state did with the reappraisal, or whatever you call it, reassessment, it went back down to $1.60-some-odd. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and the reason that it went from one, what was it, 192?
196.61.
It went from 196 because, tell me the reason why. I know I said what I said, but give me the.
I got you. And that's what I responded to JP with earlier, so, at the time of the reappraisals, was it 2019?
22.
Oh, yeah, it's, yeah, 22, when the reappraisals came about, we could have left the tax rate at the $1.92 ever was, and then captured the tax revenue that would have just occurred naturally without adjusting the rate whatsoever. Bobby Arnold worked with the mayor to recommend kind of meet in the middle, that seemed very fair. However, at the end of the day, council elected to go with the state certified rate, which was, that Bell's one for, which was as close to an approximate neutral assessment as you could get. Just from where I stood, I can't speak for everyone else who was on council at the time. It was a political decision, one that perhaps we should have made differently. However, that's what got us there.
And that rate again was $1.90. What?
It was $1.96.
If you got one thing, the state is obligated by law to set a certified rate when it is revenue neutral, which means if the total revenues coming in cannot be any more with the state, and then the city or the county can decide to raise taxes. But that rate, well, no, that rate's gotta be, you've gotta vote to change it. The state's required to give you a revenue neutral number. So anyway, now we can change it, but
Yeah,
we're.
that's the certified rate. You can choose to adopt or you choose to.
And the council was given information that led my vote to believe that we would be smarter to wait and see what the state recommended, which was lower.
That's our real underlying problem, because if everything else was going up, we was going down, and now we're sitting here with income like
Well,
2022.
let me finish where I gotta go. The 196.61, we had that tax rate for how long?
We had that tax rate since the last reappraisal, we've probably been 4 years prior, so 2018.
Okay, so we had at least.
And that was actually, that council at that time adopted to keep the same tax rate and put that money to capital. So they didn't adopt a certified tax rate. And then before then, it had been 2014, where they got lower from, I think, $1.97 maybe. We
had 196 at least for a period of 4 years, is that right?
8 years.
What I want to say about the certified rate is the state provides that, however, they do not. It's kind of a guide point.
It's a starting point of the discussion.
The county's is $1.87, while ours is $1.61.
JP's gonna give us that, and Marquisha's gonna make copies of it.
It wasn't that change that if we would've stayed, like we were talking about.
Oh, yeah, we
were-
I mean, we're looking about,
Millions.
Millions.
yeah, but what it would affect the average property owner would be like
Well, for
$160 for a
District
year.
One, the average for
median.
District One was $75 a year.
$160, yeah, I mean,
If I can try to recall what things were a little bit like back then too, is the desire, it seemed like from council, was that we really make a greater push towards greater efficiency. And
they probably also used the house market rocketing and everybody's values going up, but that was a correction.
Now, there's
a
also
long time.
developments that came into play, but I would suggest we could rewatch that one, but I wanna make sure that you.
Yeah, that's all I need. Thank you very much.
Addressing.
Galato. I got notes on it.
And we can come back to that, I guess.
August
She's,
2022.
yes.
Well, when we get
August 2022.
What day?
Can I address what he did?
He's
Don't start in August.
Okay, y'all, Larry's got a 1 minute that he wants to address what Richard just said.
Are we
quickly.
setting it for 1 minute?
Yes.
I've got a copy of you,
Started-
this is what I said last week, and it's just to make sure we're all agreeing, I'm not making any recommendations, but.
For how long?
During-
For 26.
From 2023 to 2027, our budgets have gone from $80 million to $99 million, which is a 24% increase. At the same time, we've added $26 million in the bond number, which is 32%. And new money to spend this year is 56% higher than it was in June the 30th, or 23, June of 23. Inflation was 9.25%. Now, granted, we have not raised the property tax, but we have way increased income, so revenue. So it's kind of a misleader a little bit that why we didn't do anything.
Since 2003, inflation has increased 30%.
2003?
Revenue has increased 17%.
2003 or 2023?
2003.
Well, that's right.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this
I'm
one-
gonna ask you.
We gotta come back to it.
Come back, because Larry, these are good points that we need to do with the discussion for our council member at the end, please. And Larry, I'm not trying to
I'm good,
issue
I'm
you
good.
at all.
I just wanna make sure that we look at facts of
that's
how much
why-
we've added instead of just talking about.
Right,
we
but
didn't
that's
raise
why I
taxes.
want all council members at the end of this to have a time.
Let's hang on to the
And
agenda.
so, Ron, at this time, we need to address nonprofits
Sure.
and what are considered not nonprofits.
Sure. So I've passed around. You also received all these in your email. There's one slight change to the documents that I sent you, and I'll explain that. But the first document I want to give a little bit of context is the city's nonprofit policy. This was adopted by our policy committee last January, and it really sought to achieve 3 goals. The first and most important is, believe it or not, we are actually required by state law to collect some documentation for any nonprofit that receives an appropriation from the city. And so this policy ensures that we meet that state mandate. The second goal that it seeks to achieve is several of y'all expressed interest in being more involved in the process of deciding what groups do and do not get money. And so this created the opportunity to have this discussion. And then the third goal that the policy seeks to achieve is reduce the burden on particularly our finance staff. So previously, let's say a group received a direct appropriation in the budget, then they would also request multiple event sponsorships throughout the year. And so that would require our finance department to cut multiple checks and log several budget entries. And so what this policy does also is reduce that administrative burden. So if an organization receives a direct appropriation in the budget, they must include their events requests as part of that. So essentially, no group gets more than 1 check a year. So just kind of reducing that admin burden on our team. So that's just to give a little bit of hindsight as to the reason why. And so this nonprofit policy covers everything from wanting to close down a city street for a festival, the process to do that, the process to ask for just a pure event scholarship. So this could be a table fundraiser or a golf scramble, as well as nonprofit direct appropriations in the budget. So just to give a little bit of context to that. The second thing we wanted to explain is in previous budgets, all funding has been kind of divided between 2 line items. The first is appropriations to other agencies and then donations. In the past, appropriations to other agencies included any type of group that received a direct appropriation from the city. And then donations was solely for those rolling basis, small dollars for those events sponsorships. What we've done in this budget is kind of, instead of delineating between direct appropriations and just ongoing sponsorships, is do it more by the type of organization. So in the budget proposal that you have, appropriations to other agencies is reserved for a certain type of organization, and you have that list of what's proposed. That's the first document. So this includes quasi-governmental entities, groups that do economic development, or the ones that we have some contractual agreements with for the time being. So you can see those listed right there. Then what we did is made donations for all what you would consider traditional nonprofits. And so whether they're going to get a expressed appropriation or just ongoing is all going to be handled under donations. So you may see that line item gone up in the budget. It's not we've actually put in more funding for it, it's because we've moved the buckets around. In fact, you may recall Nathan talking at our last budget hearing about cutting 150,000 or some odd. 120,000 of it has been from the donations line item already, just to give you an idea. So to the second page, this is just an example then of how this policy plays out. So if you were to take the nonprofits that received an appropriation from the city last year and applied it to this year, this is what it would look like. So you can see that was about approximately 160,000 And then 60,000, excuse me, remains what I'm just terming as unassigned. So that's those rolling applications, golf scramble, table sponsorship at a gala, fundraiser, things along those lines, for the total proposal of 220. So that kind of gives you just an example of how this policy plays out. The third page is of all the organizations that would have qualified, have received part of that unassigned numbers I'm talking about. Like I said, so this includes, some events that many of you are well familiar with, all throughout town. And so these types of things would have been in that unassigned number that I showed you on the previous page, just for your information. The final page of that is what has been requested for this budget year as part of that nonprofit policy to increase transparency about what groups receive funding. We opened up applications from nonprofits to also collect that documentation that we're required to under state law. And so you can see what the different groups requested. Also, just as that context again, I put again what they received, if they received an appropriation in the FY26, plus those additional event sponsorships. So, for example, just not to pick on them, but take LIFA, received $10,000 in direct appropriations and then had 2 event scholarships or sponsorships this year, $2,500 and $1,000. We also, as part of their application, asked them to delineate, is this for a certain program, or part of that funding, is it for event sponsorships? Like I said, it all has to be included in their one-time application. So that's kind of an overview. If you have specific questions about a group's application, all those documents were also included to you in that Google Drive. Claire helped me collect all those, so she probably has better answers on what they specifically asked for if you have a question about a specific group. Was that as clear as mud? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is something I've been thinking a lot of. When we say nonprofits, what you just went over, that's a vast group.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like for us to somehow name this differently, where if it's.
Sure.
We don't need to look at in my opinion, the chamber, the legacy chamber, the things that we are considered have to. That was the question that I asked you, and I included you all on the email.
That's why we broke it down this year. That's all in appropriations to other agencies.
Okay.
And then donations are completely different.
Okay, that's what I want to see, and maybe even come up with a name that this is.
And you all can name it whatever you want to.
Greater something.
As she was saying, when we look at a budget, it'll have this group designated separately.
Appropriations for other agencies is that group right there. You'll see that number in appropriation for other agencies.
Yes.
The other line is donations, which would be the decision you all make on non.
Correct.
It still needs to be lined out, but it needs to be the different groups. I wouldn't consider it nonprofits. That's all I'm saying.
That's separate out in so if we, I don't know if we can print out sublines, maybe it's just like printing out costs underneath there, but those are the only ones that are going to be, we can attach the documentation to it. In appropriation to other agencies, those will be the only ones in there. We'll be nothing else in there.
So I get why we do,
This is not.
donations to these events.
Okay, I apologize, Amelia, I couldn't, can you tell you, I couldn't hear you.
No, go ahead.
Mr. Ron, the question that I had asked you, okay, the question that I had asked you and included everyone on is explain why we are considering these essential.
Yes, so these are the organizations, for example, that maybe the city is a member of, right? Or we maybe have some contracted obligations. So for example, there are incentives that the chamber handles on our behalf as part of economic recruitment deals. And so some of that funding is a part of that. A lot of these, the dues are often set by population or even in some cases statute, I believe. And so the groups that are in the appropriations to other agencies, we are considering, that's why we try to separate those. These aren't generally considered like nonprofits when you think of in your mind in the general sense, right? These are groups that the city's a member of or serve some kind of economic development purpose for the city.
How big a budget are we for chamber? 40% of the budget, 25? What, just a small?
I would say we're we're
I
left.
can tell you their financials are in the Google Drive you received, so you can look it up.
Probably single digit percentages.
And like I said, part of that appropriation to them is incentives that we are, as part of ECD deals, that they're just essentially handling on our
I
behalf.
think the county's moving an extra $100,000 because of some businesses came in here. What are we cutting
Well,
out?
they made that ask to us too, and we told them we weren't able to do that right.
Okay, well, good, because I was gonna say that maybe we take $100,000 away because the county gave an extra $100,000.
That's probably not being good part of it.
Ron, can you
Yes,
get
sir.
into the code bit, because we're running our public art initiative,
Downtown development in the code and public art.
because that's split between, okay.
Yeah, so downtown development and then the codes, public art. We are contract, if we do public art, that's who it must be handled.
But do we not have an additional appropriation to the code just for their general function?
Not that I'm aware of.
We provided that way back when they first started up, but after that, no. The code is just for downtown development and public art now. That's it.
Okay, so that's.
All that's public art?
And downtown development.
Okay.
All right, so to summarize, are you going to, you already have this form, which is simplified, it tells why they are asking, what things they are going to do, if they require a beer license or not, or.
Where is that at?
That's what I'm asking. If-
I don't know if it has that kind of information, but what it does is they provide their financials, so you can see, is this a financially sound organization, and what they intend to use the funds for. The other thing, I should also, if I may give one recommendation, if you all decide to continue to fund nonprofits through that donation category, you may decide, yes, to expressly say this group should get this amount. I would leave, if I were you, a certain amount unassigned, like we have previously, to handle those like $500 sponsorships, $1,000 sponsorships. And the reason for that is many groups chose not to apply because they weren't looking for a direct appropriation. They're just looking for their annual Tabor sponsorship, and they understand that that's on a rolling basis. It's not guaranteed, but didn't feel like going through the whole process of applying. So that's just one FYI guidance I would give you. But what ultimately needs to happen is if there are groups that you want to make sure that they receive funding, it's that 220 of the donations is figuring out what you want to do with that line.
I want to advocate for the River Basin Authority bid because, you know,
By statute, we have to.
okay.
Yes.
That's why I wanted to.
Yeah, so that's why I said like, yeah, some of these are quasi-governmental, their fees are set by statute or by population, or
Are
they
any
handle.
of these on here?
I'm sorry?
Are any
No,
of these, none of
everything-
these on here?
Everything that's an appropriation to other agencies.
Is
That's
separate.
what I think we need to do.
It's separate.
That's
So the majority of the discussion is around that donations, the 220, which is the separate line.
So the money that was required to get to the River Basin Authority, that built, well, that's part of what built Middle Fork Bottoms, which while not in the city, it serves the city.
Building Central Creek over here too.
Yeah, doing the Central Creeks project. They did 3 big drainage projects for stormwater.
Charlene Mercer as well.
But yeah, they helped Shirley Mercer, Westwood, around Parkway Middle, and then right around Lula Kroger. They did 3 major projects there that, while we still have stormwater issues, it alleviated a tremendous amount of strain. And that's what we get for participating with it. So they're a great partner.
And that's why I asked you to tell us what we have to give.
Sure.
Because some of these, we might look on here and say, why do we have to give?
Yeah, why would we have to give to the center?
Economic development, it's one of the biggest things that we use for economic development when we're recruiting industry.
Okay, well, I'm gonna take a pivot for just a second, cause I got a question. So, on here, some of these 27 requests, and they've gotten stuff from us in the past.
Yep.
When they were needed for assistance this past year, they were not exactly there. So we had to huddle together, and the city had to put it together, and it took a lot of the third floor and volunteers and council members and all that to pull it together. From any of this, can we set any of that aside for when we do have another ice storm? Because we are going to, instead, I mean, we're, every year.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do that.
Set it
I
all
have
aside.
I have a problem with us giving and then when we call for help,
Sure.
not showing up.
Sure. Yeah, that, like I said, the donations line item, which is that 220, is what we're suggesting and proposing is we want your input on. Figure, how do you want to handle those funds?
You give all the applications and all the information, so that's why I said this will be after. And so I think probably you all figure out the dollar amount, if you want to adjust it at all, and then from there, then go through the applications and do that.
Yeah, so I'll just reiterate one more time. The appropriations to other agencies, that amount is in your budget. This is what we're proposing, the amount for those specific orgs. The donations one just gave you a guideline as to say, hey, if you did what we did last year and applied it to this year's budget, this is what it looks like.
It's not in the budget now?
The amount is, but not the organizations.
Right, yes, it's not, it hadn't been appropriated to the organization.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Back on Central, how much money do they need? Is they in that big of trouble if they're about to go out of business?
Who?
Central.
No.
No, I
It's
think,
part of doing business, it's the cost of doing business.
well, they're expanding their programs out and expanding the center. I mean, it's a huge economic development tool.
And it's now covering all of West Tennessee.
Okay.
We don't pay that.
What are you all,
We're talking about the
$75,000.
I think that's another.
That's also for the Starlight Center. We're-
Yeah, so that includes that amount as part of their overall request.
Okay, questions for Ron? I would suggest this is a lot to take in. We can have our own little, we're gonna have to address
Yeah,
this.
I would recommend like identifying the donations, the
Oh,
dollar
yeah.
amount you all wanna work with,
Whatever you want.
the dollar amount for donations, and then identifying,
Okay, Mr. Mayor's making a suggestion, which he doesn't get to suggest for your office, which I think you should be more, so please let us hear.
identifying the dollar amount you all want to work with, and the donations piece, and then after that, then come back as a group and look through, after you look at the applications, then make recommendations and have a finalized list of how you want to do that.
And then, like I said, I'll reiterate my one recommendation is, you know, if you say, hey, there's 220 in there, I'll just use that number if you stick with that. I would recommend keeping some amount that's unassigned to handle those $500, $1,000 sponsorships. You know, for example, like
A little bit of a sludge.
well, I mean, not because it has to be related to a specific event. But take for example,
Yeah.
yeah, or you know, the school system has a charity gala, right? They're not asking for a direct appropriation, but they through their foundation have a fundraising gala that they didn't apply for, but plan to part of that rolling basis, knowing that it's not guaranteed. Does that make sense?
Well, I think it's good for the city to have a presence at these events where we can, you know, buy a table, sponsor a tea, stuff like that. It's the big checks that really add up.
Yes, ma'am.
Just so all of these, like, there's no wiggle room with these numbers. Like,
Turn around which page you're on. I disagree.
that- There is wiggle room numbers, like cause I'm seeing the total of 725,
Mm-hmm.
647. So is there room for us to talk as council that we can do less than 75,000?
Some yes, some no.
Okay, so what are those?
So for example,
Like the chamber, if we do less than that, needed.
you could do some less. Some of it is built into promises that the city has made.
Okay.
So for example, the city is part of an economic package for Blue Oval. That is, the city's committed to $75,000 a year. Part of that $75,000 is included in that. I don't think you want to risk Blue Oval right over $75,000. But
Oval's like,
I mean, it's not gonna be electric vehicles.
yeah.
but I mean, they have clawbacks that if they don't meet their promises, we would get those funds back in.
That's it.
So.
You know, if we don't invest in economic development, then we can't wonder why businesses and people aren't doing it.
Right, I'm just asking you,
Sure.
so you said that there was some wiggle room and that there are.
Some that are not. So for example, River Basin Authority,
Which I would.
Development District, their dues are set by population, for example, so.
I think the first 7 were non-negotiable.
The first what?
What is
I
the,
would say the first 7, 1, 2.
what is the
3,
cost for us?
4, 5.
So you're saying the only thing negotiable is the symphony?
Symphony.
Cause I was gonna call for anybody pulling back on.
I'm gonna try to fit that. Ron, what is our cost for the Starlight Symphony sponsorship?
36.
20 or 25.
Oh, I thought it was like 36.
You give me
Maybe
one
that's the cost
second.
to put it on. Maybe that's the cost for them to put it on.
I want to say, I think it is 25. I can get that.
1,000.
So I can get that.
So we're giving 100,000 total.
No, that's included in their 75.
So we're giving, paying for one end, then we get.
That is a free, that is a free concert, that is a, what's the phrase, living, quality of life would stand up for that one, because that's the biggest concert in town, other than what the Ant does, that would be a strong quality of life.
It's well handled.
And every concert that they have.
They're bringing in people from
Around the world.
When you wanna
I know,
ask
we
Miss
took
Freeman to
SAT,
come, she already has an outline of how much each musician, how much each hotel room costs, but I don't wanna take time from that. I think this is a discussion.
We can pull the application, but I believe it's
I thought that they
50,000.
stay with people though.
I'm sorry?
I used to.
No, you didn't.
They got musicians.
Enough musicians.
Some of them do, some
Some do,
musicians,
some
some
don't.
don't.
I believe it's 50,000 for their general and 25,000 for Starlight, but I can.
150 to the Cove, I mean.
It's for downtown development of public art.
I think that
I'm not so much hung up on I'm not so much hung up on the 725 as I'm hung up on the
220.
1,820.
Sure.
I know.
220 is in the budget.
Pay for if we say yes.
1.8 million has been asked of you. 220 is in the budget. We have already cut 120 out of it. Or yeah.
I think it is an incredibly important responsibility for this council and city advocates to take a hard look at this, when we can't pay for what we're supposed to be paying for. But I do not think we can solve it right now, and I promised council members I want their responses, their suggestions. So can we table this for now?
And I'll just say nonprofits in the community are well aware of this policy. We've been preparing them for this for quite a while when we adopted this back in January of last year.
When you say table this, are we talking about for this moment or table
For
this?
this moment,
Okay.
this moment.
Any other questions for me?
Okay, Nathan, we never want to leave you out, so do you have anything that you need to add to the discussion that came up for where we can generate revenue from some of the discussions, or you're gonna think about that, or what do you need to tell us?
If I could borrow a moment from Nathan.
Oh,
That'd be okay, just a moment
Yes,
from
sir.
Nathan.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to go back and reiterate our first meeting almost 2 weeks ago. We discussed, short-term, long-term, right? And so short-term being at the end of this fiscal year that we're in now, we're estimating about $2.44 million surplus. Utilizing that surplus to fund step raises, TCRS, payroll taxes. Because what I don't want to do is get in a conversation where we get paralyzed about long-term and we don't get anything passed for July 1, and then our employees miss out on their step raises for next year. We don't have to turn a budget in, correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, to the state until August 31st.
Correct.
So we have time concurrently to work beyond that. We can make any amendments for a finalized budget before August 31st to send to the state. I just don't want us to be in a discussion about long-term priorities and miss out on our employees getting their step raises in July. So.
That's gonna be my first thing that I'll.
Yeah, I wanna get the step raises, that's what gave me heartburn last year was, we were having trouble getting that budget across just to fund those raises. You know, and I will push back just a touch on the surplus, because something I was thinking about, I really wanna take that surplus and go to the general fund. I read through a little bit more about, the internal auditor coming into this budget season. I was like, just axe it, let's live it out. However, some of the things that I've poked around and thought would be helpful would be perfect for an internal auditor to do. I think, so I would like to preserve the surplus of the general fund as much as possible, so that if a few months into it, we then elect to fund the internal auditor's position, take another crack at that, then we've got some money there to do it.
Right now, it's in there, hasn't been taken out.
Right, it's in the budget.
Right.
And I did want to stand corrected, Kelsey Merriweather, that was corrected, and I apologize to her and sent the appropriate email. I just want to correct myself.
I would just say utilize, this round proposal is to utilize what we have now to get it funded, so we can get the employees raises, and then we can have the discussion and make any adjustments before August 31st, before your decision.
Okay, will you say the total amount, was it 1.7 or 1.3?
1.47 funds all step raises, payroll taxes, and TCRS contributions.
Okay, then where I got confused, because the first meeting we said 1.47, then the next meeting we said 1.7.
So we said 700, because if we utilize the proposed surplus for this coming fiscal year, we would need an additional 700 and whatever to fund the step raises if we didn't utilize the surplus we're coming off of.
And the challenging part about this, because if you go through the agenda and everyone we've had the pleasure of speaking with today, there's very little that we can just boom right now, get it rolling. I mean, this is all long-term planning stuff. I mean, I feel like we're living out Groundhog Day a little bit here. However, at some point, we've all got to get our heads together and figure out these long-term funding items.
I don't think we can leave. We have to still have time for some people to make their suggestions, then I'm gonna say we have to have another work session.
Well, I'm not trying to end things. I'm pointing out that because so much of this, we can't do anything about today. There's no money, there's no real even sense of direction. We'll have to start throwing some things against the wall, and we'll have to get started, which is something we've had trouble with before. I mean, please, folks, let's end this conversation, really dig in and look at some of these efficiency things and see where we can get leaner.
All right, can we go back to the 1.47? 1.47 and Nathan.
Well, Nathan costs a little more than that.
I know, okay, but seriously, 1.47 is what we all want to agree on to address our raises.
Yeah, that's the cost, it's the total cost for step raises, payroll taxes, TCRS contributions.
Okay, when we say that we want to do that, tell us exactly where that's coming from.
There's, you got two choices. You have lots of choices, actually.
Okay, we'll just stick with the one or two.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
The mayor said, we're looking somewhere $1.9 to $2.4 million surplus in the current year. And so that would be use of fund balance. So we would increase, our fund balance would go up that much, and then you would take $746,000, but that's the number, of that in next year's budget to actually be able to fully fund the step raise and the benefits that go with it. That would leave you no cushion at all. That would make the budget zero, okay, for FY27. That's an option. Your other option is to find efficiencies or additional revenue sources in FY27 in order to fund those step raises. Those are essentially your two options. Now, I want to say you've got a $1.6 million budgeted surplus in FY27, of which we will transfer $925,000 to the capital fund to fund the unfunded capital items that are in there. Now, and that's where the net of those two is the $746,000.
Okay, thank you. That's okay.
So, the other thing is, and I think I've said this in one of these meetings before, anything less than 400, anything less than 400,000 could be in the margin of error when you're looking at, and so if we take that budget to zero next year by using that fund balance, we may end up with a surplus, we may end up with a deficit next year, but that will take it to zero if you were to do that. But if you would accomplish what you're doing, you guys have identified today some areas for study. I don't know that you will be able to accomplish all of those things by the time it's necessary to pass a budget, and I think that's what you just said. Even if you were able to maximize all of the new possible revenue opportunities you've identified and increase the efficiencies that you've talked about, you're still not talking about a large sum of money. And I don't mean that, I mean, it's a large sum of money to me.
Yes.
Okay, you're talking, you might get $1 million out of this, okay? But that's still not a large sum of money when you're forecasting some of the needs that you've got, the least of which may be, or the easiest of which may be her fly rate, you know. I mean, because you've got capital requests. We know there's $217 million in the 5-year plan. I don't know that you're gonna wanna fund all of that. You've heard Austin doesn't want more people, you know, and so, the easy thing to do this year would be, the easy thing to do in the short term would be to pull the trigger on whatever it is that it costs you to get those get those step raises done.
Okay, so we need, that's 1.47, or do we need to say it's,
And you can, however you wanna do that. Let me finish my train of thought before I fall off the train, okay? The second thing that you need to commit to do is over the next year, hold yourselves accountable and hold us accountable to seeking out those efficiencies and those additional revenue opportunities. And ask the experts, and you've had some of these experts here today. These people are experts in their fields. Where can they capture more revenue? Where can they increase efficiencies? I just sent you a graphic about building attendance to your phone, Russ. Because that's an interesting way to look at that. I don't know that you're gonna solve all of these problems before we've got to file a budget. You say, and so that's, and the other thing I was gonna tell you, the general fund expense budget that I printed, I didn't print the whole packet because the only thing that's changed since the last time you got it was the general fund expense budget. For those of you that weren't here, that has increased by $13,500 due to some things that we needed to do, but I didn't want you to go and say Nathan didn't give that to us, so I printed it for you.
okay.
Yeah, you wanted to ask me a question, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Well,
interrupt you.
I still wanna just make sure that we understand the difference of the two. So I'm gonna say objective number one is to fund the raises for all employees, period. Can I have at least a head nod from council members? That's our objective.
Yes.
Okay? I do agree with, we have to get that done, but we have press here, we have the public watching. So I wanted, and to allow council members to give suggestions, because I do not want us leaving the room without starting the conversation of how we're going to address all our long-term and short-term needs. That is gonna be a bigger discussion, but if we don't open it up right now, and I don't want the can even mentioned, pretty please, right? But seriously, we cannot leave the room today without allowing each council member to say, this was my thought, my conclusion, or my thought, my conclusion, you know, I love you. But seriously, we're not going, the headline tomorrow is not gonna be council leaves with easy decision. So, now, you've got, it's 4 o'clock, and I wanna hear from each one of you, and whoever wants to go first, go first.
Can we have a quick bathroom break?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Let's do it in order. Of what? Just to have some
History
one answer to this. One of the things that concerns me with this is we can get this budget to zero, and that's great. That's all well and good. But we can't buy a police car, we can't pave a road, we can't even have an emergency. So we got a problem if all we do is work to get our budget to zero. Y'all better set a timer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I-
But after collection. For the so I don't get to preach it. I think one of the issues is, there are some areas we can cut. I think we scale back with nonprofits and some of that. I do think that we look at that. But I also think, when you look at what the county tax rate is, it's $1.87 and ours is $1.61. I'm not saying that we raise taxes. I'm just saying that at some point, if we're looking at revenue, at some point it has to be addressed. Taxes has to be addressed. We haven't addressed it in 20 years. We know we have a revenue issue. Nobody wants to do it, but for the last couple of years, we've been reaching this point where we get to a budget year and it's, we're struggling. We're struggling to come up with funds. We can't, so if we raised it to the $1.90, that's not even the $1.91, it's 3 cents more than what the county was, and we raised our city sticker $15, that gives us $7 million. Now that is not probably a drop in the bucket to what we actually need down the road. We look at these step raises, the potential is by 2030, this 1.5 million goes to over 20 million. Now hopefully by then revenues are a lot better. So I think we do look at areas we can cut, but I do think we also have to say, hey, when we look at this handout here on what's been assessed, 20-year property tax chart on a $250,000 home, we started in 2005 at a $2.31 rate, or the county did. The county's is down to 187. We started at a $2.10 rate, and we're down to 161. What hasn't gone up in 20 years? The cost of everything has gone up, and if we're adequately going to take care of our police, of our fire, of our employees, and of infrastructure, then I think we have to honestly look at our tax rate. I think that is something. I'm not saying we have to do it this year. I'm not saying we have to do it, but we hadn't done anything in 20 years on that, and I think that is one area that we have to look at. Can we cut? We can make cuts, absolutely. I think I'm still 150,000 to the code, 75 to the symphony is I struggle with. I'm not saying that they're not great things. They're great things. And some of these other nonprofits, I think we look at. We just borrowed $26 million. I wouldn't recommend anybody, you go out and borrow money to pay your utility bill and then you give to a charity.
I'm doing
Yeah.
it right now.
So I struggle with that, and I think the community, I think the people that are watching, the public watching, struggles with that as well. They don't fully understand that. And these are all great things. I think you should give to them. I want to fund them. I just,
In closing, you got about 30 seconds. In closing, we'll go back around, but what would be, do you have any top 3 suggestions or what? Because we're gonna have time to go back around, but I want you to have your.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, I normally get 3 closings at church. So.
They're giving you more money.
I think honestly, I think we have to look at this tax thing. I think that's the.
That's number 1 to you, and then I heard you say that we should look at the charities.
Yeah,
I don't wanna put, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your honesty and thank you. So let's move, who's District 2?
Johnny.
John.
You took my can.
I gave you this one. He gave you this one.
No, I think if we're gonna have to look at our revenue, we keep saying that. And how do that look, talking about taking away, you know, cutting the budget. I think we'll cut that to the bare minimum, but we can't cut no more. I've talked to several people, and I've asked that question, how do you feel about the tax rate increase? Some said no, some said yes, because, you know, you look at, things are, inflation went up, you know, as a city, you know, we have to continue to have revenue to pay for the things we pay for. You know, and like I said, I've been on the council since '99. I think Rich asked the question, you know, when we raised the taxes and we took them back down, just thinking we kept them at that 196 where it was, where we would be. And I'm, like I said, I'm the last person that I just want to raise taxes on a lot of people. But we're gonna have to do something. I mean, we keep on, the fire department being in, police talking about what they need. We hadn't even touched the surface on what they needs are. You know, things we talked about today, that ain't even came up. So I'm thinking that we're gonna still have to, look at the real picture of what do we do, whether the tax rate, whether it's, you know, increasing other departments as, fees as well as, city sticker, things like that we can look at, you know, city court. But we're gonna have to look at how can we get more revenue coming into our city, because the people say they want better infrastructure. They want, you know, better services. When we start taking these services away, you're not gonna be happy with that. And I think we do a whole lot of things that other cities don't do. I mean, as I travel, go to conferences, and I talk about the service that we offer, they're like, we don't do that. You know, some cities do one pickup a month, or one pickup, maybe one or two a year, and that's it. You know, what we do is totally different. You know, so I think we just have to seriously think about and make hard decisions. I mean, you know, I don't have to consider the tax rate just to ounce it, but we have to look at what we can do as a council to bring all this together and look at all the other departments, not just this. I know the rates are very important, but, you know, the fire department, look what they're doing, look at what the issue they got at their location. Police department need all things they need, and we still haven't touched the surface on none of that with what we're doing with this year budget. You know, so I guess long term, I think we have to look at what components do we bring together to fix this issue. And we have a revenue problem in our community, and that we're not touching it, and we keep on, I don't say kicking the can down the road, but we keep on overlooking it, the fixes that we need. Our issue's been an issue for years. And we look at the budget and we talk about, okay, well, we're gonna take this off, we'll pass it on to next year. We'll take this off, we'll pass it on to next year, and we never go back and revisit the issues that we have to fix.
You're closing, do you want to just out now say I don't want to speak for you, but.
No, I just want to say, let's continue working with some serious analysis and look at some serious things that we could do. I mean, and we can't be scared to make a tough decision.
Thank you, Johnny, Councilman, yes. Councilwoman. She's a man, woman.
Councilwoman.
We're doing the manly woman.
Okay, so I know that every department has presented like a bare bones budget of what they absolutely can or need. So, but I had a question for Christy with the parks. So what, like, I know we talked about the last department meeting, what parks are being utilized the most and underutilized. So did you provide that?
I did not get the full reports in.
Only because, in the budget right now, what is funded for the parks, I'm assuming those are the ones that are utilized often.
Well, the Recreation Administration budget covers all of our parks. That we don't have individual line items for parks except for our grant funded parks.
So is there not anything that we could shade down for the parks that the administrative recreation budget in those areas for the parks that aren't being utilized?
The only cost they had was maintenance, cutting grass.
Okay, so that would be quite enough. I am also thinking as far as revenue building and stuff, maybe suggesting a hotel tax. When residents or citizens hear that, like, we're not the ones that are actually gonna be staying in those hotels. So it's people coming and traveling, so they're gonna pay regardless because they need to stay in the hotels for the things that they're doing in Jackson. So, I feel like that would be a suggestion that we can look at with building revenue.
We're working on that right now. Yeah, we talked about that the Wednesday that you weren't here.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's hard to keep up with which meeting was.
Yeah.
So right now, the Department of Revenue at the state cannot tell us who owns the 5%. So state statute doesn't allow an entity, whether it be county or city, to go above 4. Now, if you have 5, then you're grandfathered in. Anything beyond that, you have to get permission from the state to go up 1%. Right now, we both own the 5%. But we're not charging 10%. And so we have an interlocal agreement of 5%, 40-40-20, city, county, CBD. So we're trying to get a determination on who owns the 5%. And then, the easy thing would be the county to own the 5 and then give us a chance to go up 4. That would be the easy thing, but it's still working with the state to determine who owns that 5%.
So that's kind of in the works, which I think that would be a good thing. The wheel tax, I said this last year in budget season about nonprofits. There are so many private citizens that already give to nonprofits on their own. I am a believer of, if you're gonna be a nonprofit, you really need to be able to sustain yourself on your own before, I don't know if the nonprofits in town expect the city to always give, but, if we don't have money to give, we're not gonna be able to give it. And so we have the 220 allocated, right? So at this point, I mean, and it's not a favorable thing to say because nobody wants to not give to nonprofits, but we could use that 220 to help fund, the set raises and stuff. And I say that not to say that we may not ever be, we can at some point give to nonprofits again, but it may be this year that we can't give to nonprofits, and it sucks. But that's where we're at, and we need to be able to fund these other things that are priorities for the city. So I feel like that's one way that we can have money to spend. But aside from that, I have never had, I don't get anxiety, but this weekend, I have struggled with what to say to the community and what to cut and what to do. And it's frustrating to not have other things that we can really cut and sustain the budget. And about the fly rails, I said that in the email. I don't want to be responsible this next year if something happens to somebody and say, well, we couldn't fund it because we needed to wait again and something happens.
We're liable once we know it.
Yeah, and so that is something that I'm kind of firm that.
Now you have an additional 20 seconds because he helped you answer, so in your
I just feel like that is a huge priority to me, and if OSHA did come in and shut us down, the Civic Center is a huge revenue. It brings a lot of revenue with all the events and stuff, and that would be something that is gonna be a detriment to the city if something happened.
So tell us your top 3 things that we have a chance to come back to, but we will address in our next work session.
I think taxes, the hotel, the wheel tax, the nonprofits, and maybe we need to file a system some way. I don't know how to do that.
Thank you for your
honesty. File a system some way, but I don't know how to do that.
Well, I think we addressed it, and I don't want to cut into anybody's time, but I think we had a real good suggestion on how to get to, I apologize, you weren't here to go ahead and get the RFP,
with the timeline, the RFP would put us into the next FY 28 anyway.
Okay.
And so we get the RFP first, and we can plan out 28, 29.
District 4.
District 4 is money for the doctor.
Yeah. So we'll wait and let Richard email us, District 5.
I think that Jackson needs to be a leader so that people look at us as being someone very progressive. We help big corporations here. We have all the services that people moving to our communities would look for in a very progressive city with well-paying jobs. We gotta live up to what is expected of us as the center of West Tennessee. But then again, we have issues we have to deal with. Philosophically, I have a problem with tax dollars going to nonprofits. I spent my entire life in the nonprofit world. And nonprofits, if you don't have enough money, you just create another income stream. It's like your family. You know, mom's not working, she's raising kids, we've gotta have a new car, we've gotta have a new whatever. You know that, how do you make more money? The same thing with nonprofits. But then I look at some of the nonprofits that we have. We have a nonprofit that's one block from City Hall, the courthouse, that creates most of our issues for downtown. And which, how do you address that? You know, but it creates a problem for us. I don't know if I've said enough about nonprofits, but there are some things that, you know, nonprofits do a great amount of things for our community. And the reason the IRS supports contributions to nonprofits, they do things that cities do not have to perform. And so we're glad we have lots of nonprofits. But we are like a nonprofit. We have a lack of income streams. And so we talked about the city sticker, increasing that. That's a kind of a softer way. Increasing court costs. I love that. We talked about that today. And the stormwater fee, I think helps us solve a problem, and it helps us fix roads too, which is a wonderful thing. I do wish that we could cut some of our expenditures for the nonprofits, and these are all good things to do. We have our financial empowerment, which is provided free for Leaders Credit Union. But we do that. It's a good thing to do, but when it's kind of like you're saying, if you're running out of money, that may not be the best thing to do. Although it's a nice thing to do. We have a golf course. We pay people to run a golf course. He's hired.
More than that, what's the latest on the golf course?
Ron probably has more
Ron.
insight.
Main thing is in discussions with getting some of the debris at the golf course fixed. Also working at upgrading their pumps that are multi-decades old that need to be fixed as well. So it's actually part of the budget committee's budget amendment to consider. We had some leftover bond fund to fix a pump. But as of now, there's not much new in the grand scheme of things other than taking care of some of these maintenance issues and getting some of the damage and debris cleaned up over the coming.
Thank you, Mark. Did that answer that so we can get back?
Does that give you something at least?
I'll check with you later.
Okay.
And then I think that we as leaders in our community, we need to ask churches to start taking on people that have issues. If we need yards mowed, churches, need to step up and help take care of some of our own folks in our communities.
What are you talking about? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I'm thinking, all the things that we do are great things, but if there's somebody else that can do that, so we don't have to fund that,
Like West Tennessee Work Camp that we did for years.
Yeah, we painted houses. We painted like 10 houses a year.
Stuff every summer.
And so.
A bunch of teenagers working our tails off.
So,
is that program still going?
Okay.
they couldn't.
No doubt, but you're there anymore.
No. You're still on.
Okay.
Please finish.
We could not find homeowners because it all became rental property. And so we had to shut the program down for the poor. So, I think this is, by the way, compliments to you and the mayor for this new style of how we do this. It has been so, it's been so effective. But I think we need to deal with income streams, and how we lower our city costs, and allowing nonprofits to become more independent without us. Because if we're an income stream to them, I was gonna tell a story about a nonprofit donor.
But you can't.
But I would pay a price for telling that story.
I don't think I'll take that.
You did have an additional 30 seconds that got, if you do.
Yeah, you do it 30 seconds.
That's fine.
No, listen, I'm not
I'm
gonna
just
tell
gonna
this.
say, I do have children I have to get home to, so
Okay.
we roll with that.
Okay, now, Julie? Go
Well,
ahead.
we're going out of number, but that's fine.
That-
I think I've been pretty blunt completely that I think we need to cut some of the funding to the nonprofits. I think we need to up the city sticker, we need to up the city for, you know, we mentioned stormwater, that's in the works, a hotel tax. You could even probably put an Airbnb tax on there as well and include it in this. I think that we're going to have to do some kind of increase in revenue from property tax, and I will say this, and most of you are gonna scoff at me and be like, I can't believe you're gonna say this and put it here. If we're more friendly with development, the quickest way to get more property tax is to let it get developed and upgrade that use. I think we should be more development friendly, and I would love to see that golf course sold and turned into a wonderful neighborhood, but that's gonna take people standing up and sometimes making the not popular decision for the loud 38 people. So that's where I'm at. I'm done.
That's good. Do you have any of your top three that you would just wanna say, the revenue?
No, I don't think you can split it down into, we can only do three things. I think we need to look all the way around. And we also need to see where there's some ways to improve efficiency with how we handle stuff, just like what Christie came in saying, hey, we'll save this much money by hiring an employee to do X, Y, and Z. Then I think you could let department heads have some time to say, we could do this and we could do this better by doing this.
cost savings.
And push it.
Absolutely, and I apologize, but I just wanna say that cost savings meeting, we need to beef that way up. I mean, but anyway, cost savings is what we have to do. Julie, thank you.
I also think we should be a little, and I'm not saying that, where is it? It's not in here. I think that there's a way where we could save money on how we bid stuff out too as well. So I think about that, there are other people that I know have said that have tried to get on and tried to put in bids, and then nothing ever gets sent to them.
Would you address him and let him
Yeah.
know that? Thank you, Julie. All right, Larry.
Well, I'm the majority of one here. I'm not ready to say we need more revenue. And the reason I'm not is because if you look at history, what I just handed out earlier, the audit for the general fund on June 23 was $80 million. This year's budget is somewhere around $99 million, which is a 24% increase. During that period of time, inflation, at least from 23 to May of 26, which is the latest number, is 9. So on the 9% inflation, we've gone up 24%. It's hard for me to say you need more revenue. In addition to that, we just borrowed $26 million. So this year, we're gonna have a total of $45,453 to spend. That's a 56 increase in spending over 2023. Now,
I say that last part one more time.
okay, well, I don't know which part, the inflation?
The part about we took the bond issuance, so we're gonna have X amount of dollars to spend. Is that bond issuance not spent?
Well, if it's spent, it's still spending this year. My point is, the money we're spending in the year is $45 million over what we spent in 2023 because it wasn't a bond issue then.
How much grant money did we get?
I have the floor here. I mean, you interrupted me twice.
Okay, okay, no, all right. So we appreciate the passion by everybody, but please continue, but we are gonna be respectful to each other, so just continue on. Thank you, Larry, and thank you, Julie.
So, anyway, so I'm not ready to say we have revenue need. We may, but we need to address some of these things to start with. We talked about the tax rate no change, and I said this just a few minutes in private. These county hadn't changed their tax rate in about 40 years except one time. And that's when the city reneged on the contract for the school system and took away how many million you want, $6 million. And that's the only time they've done it in the probably last 40 years.
Yeah,
That-
but
That doesn't mean.
They also have,
revenue
they also have general purpose education fund they can pull it from too.
Yeah, that's a revenue stream, I get lost. Anyway, back to where we are here. We've covered a bunch of things here, but it's hard for us to pick them out. What I think I would like to see us do is accept this budget that the mayor has presented to us with this caveat, that you gotta go back and find 1.42 million in pay raises, and then whatever that is. Now, and I would like him and his staff to make the recommendation on the cuts, because they know more about this department than anybody else. And if he came up with a recommendation, it doesn't mean he's for that. It means if we give him the, ask him to come up with the numbers he's got to come up with. So, do we have a revenue problem? Perhaps, but I think we've got to spend, we have plenty of money, at least it looks like to me. Oh, one last thing, just Jackson Ballpark, Farmers Market, the Civic Center, NED, Fairgrounds, Animal Care, Athletics, Carnegie, TR Wright, Westwood, Senior Citizens, South Madison County, Bemis, Rex Tennis, Sportsplex, and Groundkeeping. There are about $12.5 million there. And most of those things generate money. They generate about $2 million. So we've got about $10 million there that's dead cost to us. I'm not saying take them out. I'm saying we need to look at it. Is there a way we could structure and have one manager over the NED and the Carnegie? And that's been tried before, maybe it didn't work out. But with this amount of money, I think we need to look at stuff like that.
Good for you, and appreciate it. Marquise is helping me take notes of what we'll bring back up. Is it 7? Okay, that's me. I'm gonna just pass this out because I want you all to know what your charter says. You can read this on your own, but this vote, I want you all to read. The budget committee.
You're up.
That's fine. I'll give it back to
Will
you. I'll
do?
hear the story.
You do me. Or somebody time me for 5 minutes. What I had mentioned last year, I apologize, I'll sit back down. It's my nature when, last year when I said, the word, what I want from the budget committee is I want us to beef up the budget committee. What you all are looking at is their bylaws. I want the budget committee to be empowered to do, outlining our goals, objective, policies, financial summaries. I've asked for 2 or 3 years for a monthly report from the budget committee. Not picking on anybody, but I hadn't gotten it. So the budget committee, I want, it's our first ally in our projections and, helping us recoup and find these ways of revenue. So that's my first thing that I wanted to say. Stormwater, if it's not on my tombstone, there's something wrong. Stormwater, I am all for. Austin, I think we have the best person capable for doing that. I want to see that implemented. So empower the budget committee, stormwater. I think that we should look at city sticker. I'm gonna go ahead and say some things that where revenue, I think we need to look at city sticker. I think last time after our meeting, some feelings were hurt. I wanna address Love Your Block. I love those people. I like it. If that stays and it's voted on, I would think Elvia is the most qualified, that she knows what she's doing. She knows those people out there. But I would like to see that job connected with the code enforcement, or maybe the, Roland, his body. If we're talking about efficiency, then let's let her be the most efficient that she can, because she's out there working. So, efficiency. City engineer, we went without, and I've been here 7 years, we, brought a city engineer in with the promise that she was gonna become a practicing engineer, a PA. That was 4 years, we didn't have a PA. So I want to know further why the state says that we have to have a PE, because we have the most qualified person, in my opinion, Chris Coughlin, right now, that was running it, is running it. So I wanna know if we have to hold that position, that's money, if we don't have to. The Civic Center, we have to do that, because in your response, if we are going to be a leader if we are going to say, come and move to Jackson, your quality of life has to be up there about number 3 or number 4. I'm gonna put 4. So if we are willing to say, go and take your money somewhere else, and that's not gonna happen if I had a vote. That is my vote against that. We have to support that. And if we're looking at cutting nonprofits into there, you're gonna take their number 1 generator away for them to make money. I think we need to be more, am I past my time?
No, he said we'd wait.
2 minutes.
Okay. I think we are capable. I am so proud of us. Can't be 9, it's 10. It's all of us in here together. And we can make this happen. We can't get mad, we can't get fussy. She says she's worried about it. My husband says goodnight to 4 or 5 different people every night that I'm so worried about, that's sleeping right there with us. And I can't go to sleep, well, I have to say something. But anyway, getting back to the point, we are smart enough and we have the ability, and Jackson deserves better. And I will hold myself responsible because there's some votes I wish I could have taken back, but I am standing firm that once we address where we can cut, and I don't want to hear, I would like for us to do a better job of being efficient. I don't know if we have the manpower for that, but we have to. I want to see us be more efficient. And then next time we come, I want us to address, can we raise a city sticker, and should we look at taxes? And we've got to figure out the numbers. So that's my response. Thank you. My top 3 are to empower this budget committee. Y'all, it's in the bylaws, it's in your charter, that's 1. Because in that, they are saying, where is our financial summaries? Where's our capital projects? What department summaries? What should we be doing? Approved budget ordinances. It's in there. Let's empower them. Right. That's gonna be one of my 1. For revenue, I wanna look at city sticker first. I think we've got to come back together, and we can't be upset about this project or that project. We've gotta be logical, and we've got to say what we have to pay for. And it might even go back to Candace, if we can't pay for the things that a city is not supposed to run, and in my opinion, that is police, fire, and infrastructure. Then your next one would be your, the phrase, everybody.
Quality
of life, thank you. So those are mine, and thank you for your time.
So when are we meeting again?
Well, let's go finish Russ. And then you follow this agenda, sister, and we'll do it.
All right, so the challenge I see is we do need to reduce some spending. I think rather than just taking the chainsaw things, we need to look for areas where we can meet in the middle, where we can achieve reduction while still maintaining some of these services that we all enjoy having and feel good about. Chief Riddle shared a great idea the other day, adopt the fire department. Some of these maintenance needs, I think we could partner with the community. Julie had a conversation with an electrical contractor the other day who was asking about like a block. And he was like, we could give a little time to this. So I think there's a great opportunity to partner with local contractors, whether it be for our own facilities or people out there in the community. And I would like to see us drive, if those services remain, I would like to see those be driven through volunteer partnerships. Let's see. One of the, I talked about something I thought about, maybe the need for the internal auditor position. Travel and training is a big number. I understand a lot. It's necessary, and we don't want people out there sleeping in their cars and sleeping bags when they have to go to a mandatory training. You all deserve comfortable accommodations when you have to go to these events. However, I would still like to have those audited, not just by the department head, whoever's approving it, have an independent resource, which could be the internal auditor, to then go through and make sure that we are being as responsible as possible with our travel and training. Being very specific, I would like to see us reduce our symphony donation to whatever the amount is for the Starlight Symphony. Keep the Starlight Symphony, but for now, the lump sum needs to be reduced. As far as the charitable donations, I would do without that for now. I would like to have that, $75,000 to play with, where we can still sponsor a golf team, have a table at the event. So we have a presence and we do have some support. We're not just pulling the plug and all that, but again, address reduction. And something I'd like to work on implementing in the future is that if our general fund dips below 25% of our expenses, then we have to pull the plug, reduce whatever the case may be on some of those types of donations. Just to kind of a rule. If we're healthy, we can do it. If not, I'm sorry. Let's see. I haven't worked with health and sanitation, but we are a very generous service provider with our health and service department. It could be a little too much. I've looked around in a lot of communities. You do one pickup a week. I can get by on one pickup a week. Some people need 5, but I would like to go back to health and sanitation and see if there's any way that we're being too generous with our services. Where am I advocate for a $50 wheel tax. That is an equitable distribution. People who own vehicles drive these roads and put wear and tear on them. We take the increase, the additional $25, and it goes straight to roads in a proprietary fund. Okay, $50 wheel tax increase. I also support we do have the ability to levy our parks on the property tax. It won't do a ton, approximately $1 million a year, but a 5-cent park, specifically park capital assessment, I think would benefit us, alleviate some of their needs, while also freeing up money for other departments. Let me get my place. I want us to fund the step raises this year with reduced spending. I think that's the meet in the middle of the compromise. And unfortunately, that's not something I can just snap and tell you. I'd hope to be more prepared. I'm talking fast and I'm still getting, barely getting everything in. But I want us to all work together and pinch pennies where we can. I think the stormwater fee is an absolute necessity when it becomes available. However, that's not something that's going to pay off right now. Let's see. As far as what we do with our next steps, I think we need to give ourselves a deadline at some point. This is our meeting number 3. It sounds like we need a meeting number 4. I would like our next meeting to be, this is it. And I mean, these hard numbers, we've got to figure out what we do or don't do, and at least try to get some majority so that we can bake it into the budget and figure out what we're going to do to survive this year. And then everything that was on this agenda, like I pointed out earlier, I'll be quick, so much of it was future driven. I think perhaps we could, as council members, adopt a department where fire, police, parks, what's your?
Public Works.
Thank you, Public Works, I'm getting flustered. But each council member essentially adopts a department where we can then be the advocate to work a little bit more closely, because the problem I have with this budget is it's a bunch of numbers, and we don't know the stories behind all these numbers. And that's what's really important, because I'm kicking tired, I'm questioning you on things, Nathan, and then you give me very good answers. I'm like, well, I don't want to cut that out of the budget. So, I really like but I would, as far as these real expense-driven departments, I would like to see each council member adopt a department and work more closely with those, so that as we work throughout the year toward the next budget, we then have that advocacy, we then have that person who can better explain the story to the rest of the council.
Okay.
Thanks for the extra time.
All right, the reason I asked Markeisha to help me, and you didn't have to have just 3, is so for our next meeting, we have those outlined, what you all suggested, and we start to formalize a plan to make it happen. So I did concur with several things Russ said. I don't want to take time. I want to go back, and of what everybody said, is there something that you want to highlight? If not, then we need to sit down and say when our next meeting is, and then I want parameters of what we're going to accomplish. And I want that to come from you all of what you want to accomplish, and we're gonna follow that. Excuse me?
Can I say a couple things?
Oh, yes, sir, of course, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate this meeting, I appreciate the format of it and the structure. I think it's been probably one of the most productive ones. I think we have a choice. And I know some of us ran at the same time about the Jackson that we want to build. And we can cut and cut and cut, and then we'll get the Jackson we deserve. And so I think if we look at quality of life is as important as police, fire, public safety. We have opportunities for efficiency. But I think every year we get lost in on the grounds we made in efficiency. I think, the conversation, we need to be more efficient. We're continuing to be more efficient every single day. We continue to do that work. Everything that we implement is about being more efficient. So I don't want to get lost in the let's just cut, because no company, no entity, no organization cuts their way to prosperity. That's just the reality of it. And so we can look at how we solved problems yesterday, or we can plan how we solve problems tomorrow. But that's all I want to say.
Because it is, and I meant that, this is a team of 10. We need your leadership, we need your advice, and that's, we must do that. We need to be a team of 10.
I just want you all to take a real look. You're talking about cutting down profits, very critical for our community. Very critical because they do things that our government can't do. And look at the people it's gonna affect. Because they provide services that our city and our city government don't provide. So when you cut some of these services, you're gonna affect a whole lot of people. Because, you're saying, because you got to be like churches gonna do it. Churches ain't doing it now. You saying let other people come in and provide the service and everybody volunteer. They're not doing it now. So what you think they gonna all of a sudden now, city ain't doing it, but we're gonna start going volunteering, doing some of these things. We're gonna go and feed the people, we're gonna do this. They're not doing it now. And all I'm saying, we're gonna go and provide, we're gonna go and do this, we're willing to do this. And we ain't did it so far. We don't do nothing. I'm not talking about nobody.
Yeah, that's.
I'm just saying, but a lot of stuff, some of these nonprofits do a whole lot of things that city governments can't do. They can do it better, or they got some stipulations that we can't do some things. And that's why a lot of these nonprofits are doing things that they're doing. But, you're gonna hurt a whole lot of people when you cut these nonprofits. And you talking about, what, $220,000? That's all. I don't think that $220,000 is gonna do anything, gonna make an effect on everything, y'all budget, things y'all need to fix out there. That ain't a percentage. What percentage is that?
Well,
You talking about 0%, we're trying to fix some of these
That's
problems.
a core for hers.
Yeah, but I mean, look at some of the main, the police department, things they need. $220,000, how they gonna have that, what's that gonna provide?
How many
That's
people,
it.
how
That's
many
it.
people, how many
That's
people
it.
do you
That's
guys?
it.
That's not needed though.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. We gotta be careful of who we gonna affect when we cut these nonprofits.
But in the same breath of saying cutting 220 is gonna close out some of these nonprofits, there's nonprofits that we're giving to that have gotten $1 million donors. There are people who give to it, that 220 isn't even really making that big of an impact in their wheelhouse. There are some that they have singular events that raise over $100,000. I'm more apt to give to the smaller ones
Well,
who are starting up. I mean, now we're getting off in the weeds.
Yeah,
We can be more selective, that's why you have the applications, you can look at all that information in your Google Drive.
I guess both more selective, but still totally cutting, you're gonna hurt some people.
And I'm gonna advocate for both sides on that, cause I serve on several of these boards, and I know what they bring to the community and how many women and children they get off the street. They follow them for a year and they become tax paying citizens. So I think it's a tough conversation that we need to have. And I don't want the press, pretty please, going out and saying, the headlines, it's cut Love Your Block, it's cut, this.
Well, they're gonna make their own headlines.
Well,
They are.
but give us some credit for trying. I'm gonna say, give us some credit for trying. So, what else should, Nathan?
Just a couple of things, and you guys have done good work, and I've said this at the end of every meeting that you've had, but you've done good work, just objectively, I think. First of all, it's important to remember as we talk about cuts, from the first budget that was submitted, we cut $405 or $450 nearly $1,000 out of this budget, which is, in perspective, that's about 0.4% of the budget, but it's not a small number. The second thing is you guys get ready to have your next meeting so that you can take a real look at what you're doing. If you've got a proposal and it's something that we can put a penny to, let me know, and we will get something on paper so you can see what the net effect is, given the information that we've got. Don't wait until
The day.
the day.
We're gonna put a deadline a week.
We do need to deadline.
Yeah.
No,
Can
you
we
could
have a
have Larry do.
deadline, please?
I've already Larry to
Well,
Dustin.
okay, so let's take next week off from budget since we have the general meeting and.
I have surgery
The
next
next
week.
week,
Next month, we have surgery.
Okay, but before, can you finish addressing what Nathan was saying? first of all, we need a deadline for the things that we want to.
Well, it depends on when your meeting is.
Yeah, okay, so open your calendars or your phone, and Russ suggested we're taking off
Next week, I'll be in
We'll only have-
Louise the
we'll
week
only have one
after,
meeting.
so I'm not gonna be here.
I'll tell you,
First
so
world problems.
Thursday of next week, our deadline to submit any inquiries, any suggestions, et cetera.
Get back together, I apologize.
Alright, so let's see, this is our June calendar, so we're meeting, we've got Tuesday, so then let's say Thursday the 4th, that's your deadline to submit any inquiries to Nathan and or any of the departments. And then also submit any ideas like what we discussed today. And then what if we plan to meet again Thursday the 11th to take all this, give us a week to take all this information, cull it down into a presentable fashion, where we can then start to, create a majority around some of these ideas.
So,
Scott, when is your surgery?
My surgery's next Wednesday, so I'll be good by next Thursday. I'm bounced back.
Yeah,
I
I
just
think
want-
I was gonna be there one meeting, I
I
was.
know, I just wanna caution, if we're, that's why I made the recommendation about temporarily funding from the current surplus, because we're meeting on the 11th, and that's gonna leave us 2.5 weeks to get something passed, implement the step raises for next fiscal year. So I just wanna, that's the timeline that we're running up against.
Okay.
Well, and I'm sorry.
No.
So
What I was gonna say, I mean, if we're unable, so we'll have our submission deadline next Thursday, and then meet a week later. And if we're unable to achieve consensus on where we reduce, where we increase, whatever the case may be, then the only thing we can do then is roll the budget as presented. I think that's fair. We have our time to.
We have to admit-
do our job or not do it.
No, definitely, that's his cocktail time, it's fine.
It's
I'm
Church
ready to
Bell
go
for
with
his
you.
cocktail.
I'm ready to go with you, brother,
Come on,
I'm
baby.
ready.
So, Thursday is a fine deadline, but if you're gonna meet on Thursday the 11th, if we had it Monday the 8th, we would fine. I mean, cause.
Okay, well, we'll say, everybody has to start implementing in their mind and on paper by the 4th, and then your deadline is the 8th.
Right.
Yeah, get it to Nathan both.
But you guys have got to have adopted a budget by June 30th.
We can do within, we can do, I'm not looking to count 27th and 29th. I mean, it could be a
Right.
48-hour window when
That's
we
right.
get called, so.
Yeah, and I think council, we need to just kind of set the expectation for ourselves that by the 11th, any ideas that we have, we're either gonna bring them to life or let them rest until next time around. And that would hopefully achieve the deadline to get everyone.
Well, no matter where you go and what you do, I want you to continue to push through this next fiscal year to look and find these things.
Well, I'm gonna suggest that we do like this, but I want it steered by the budget committee.
And they're ready. I mean,
But then, I don't think anything we would suggest, you would take to heart. It's just like a process we go through and we approve.
Well, that's the other thing.
I don't hear enough about what y'all do.
Yeah.
We approve budget requests.
That's
Yeah,
why we
and
need a
I can watch
report.
the meeting, so those meetings are available online, check them out with all the other
And
great.
then we get all of our
Research.
changes, the requests and the things we approve, we deal with them on Thursday before our Tuesday.
We can get a 1 to 2 page monthly report pretty please.
Only if I've asked for it for 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
But my point is, it will be in front of you on Thursday.
Okay, Frank, can we stop for a second? That's why I printed this out, the bylaws. Council wants to empower the budget committee. If we need, as council, to make recommendations back to the budget committee for what we are expecting from you. We don't need Nathan, he is the holder of the information. You all should be the minds and creating and coming up with a plan.
So if the budget committee submitted a budget, guess what?
What?
Y'all would ignore it.
Why? We have to listen to the budget. We're supposed to. We've got to read our charter, follow our charter. I will be, sorry,
Well,
I'm sorry.
So you could have, and I'm sort of taking about half of Frank's side here. You guys got this budget and you didn't like it. You could have sent it back to the budget committee and said, we don't like it, this is what we don't like, figure it out. But you didn't.
We
You
did that last year, I think, in all due respect.
You did it 2 years ago. Last year, it didn't get that far. Yeah. I mean, you could have done that, but you didn't, because ultimately it's your decision. I mean, I'm defending you too, that's the other half. Ultimately, it's council's decision to come up, to pass a budget. It's gotta be, it has to be acceptable to you, not just to the budget.
And the budget is meeting on the 28th.
And the budget committee also just is an advisory committee. It's not a legislative committee.
So, and so when you expect stuff from the budget committee, we're giving you just what we think that's being expected from us.
You did, you gave us a fund balance that we're gonna add to, and how you're gonna move the capital, and the fact that we're gonna stick with that.
No, I'm with you.
Find the money, no pay raises, find the money, y'all are up and down.
So are y'all looking at the 11th for another meeting?
Okay, let's go back for a second. Frank,
Yeah,
you know that I'm always on your side. I just want you as chairman to bring up this.
I'll have it for Thursday.
Okay, and the budget committee is meeting Thursday.
Well, I take that back. We're meeting Thursday.
We're regressing.
I teach on Thursday night, so I will not be able to be here for the entire session.
It was only if council members want to be there. The budget committee is meeting on Thursday. We're regressing just a little bit. So I want us to stay on track.
The 11th, 2 o'clock, is that what you were looking at for your next meeting?
Council, what's your 11th, yes or no?
Oh.
That's fine.
I will say, there are other people on this budget committee that never end up
I'll
in this
just give you
room,
guys my.
that have a lot of advice and a lot of say too, and a lot of suggestion. And so it's somewhat unfair to just target it at Frank, because I mean, also
Oh,
Johnny
and I
and me are on
apologize,
it.
'cause he's
But
chairman.
there are other people, and then, so we go through it and we get to where it's like, and then we push it on, and then it's, no.
I just feel like
I think they had a different goal than what you guys' goal is.
Well, this is why we have a charter, and this is why I printed it out. So if council needs to make a statement to the budget committee, and again, like, they're not a legislative committee, but they are part of our charter. And I think we need to let them have the ability to be beefed up to do what we are asking to do.
but I don't see any real benefit. I mean, you're saying to do this, but I watch how we work. And
Well, we're gonna do better. Can you help us?
Sheriff, so I don't feel like I know enough about what's going on with the budget committee. Some of that's me. However, I'd also challenge the budget committee, because if we can get a monthly report, it is difficult for me to sit down and watch the hour-ish meeting on YouTube, although thank goodness we have that. If I could get, like I said, a 1 to 2 pager, just a cliff notes of what y'all worked on, what you accomplished.
You can, the minutes from Markeisha. And that doesn't have to be done by us because they're readily
Right,
available.
but
And I'm
so-
not saying that to be ugly or nasty. It is readily available. It is recorded. It is there. And so, I mean, that's kind of lead you to water but can't make you drink. It's there. But then you've also got people that are deep off in this that never come in this room and talk to any of you guys either.
Yeah, and I had suggested a few of them to be able to come, but a few of them were out, so we're making progress. So you all have a meeting Thursday. Those of you that can come, I don't know how to suggest anymore except let's start with the charter, because that's what we're supposed to do. And we're regressing a little bit, I can read the faces.
I feel like it's, and I'm being super honest, I'm not trying to be nasty when I say this, but I feel like this is a way to pin the uncomfortable decisions
no.
on someone else and say, beat it up, and then y'all bring it to us.
Oh, no, my thing is just to help us look at more efficiencies. And it states in here, financial summaries, capital projects, department summaries. Or my vision for the budget committee after they have to go through what Nathan tells them they have to do. Someone has an idea and says, you know, out at the ballpark, I heard Christie mention blah, 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 blah. Now, let's look at that and project that. What's that gonna do over the year? Not putting the budget committee, we know we have to be responsible, but intelligent people in this community that are willing to serve on that budget committee, we got to take I want their advice.
Well, you got it.
I
And
want their
nobody liked
advice.
it.
So are you,
And those people that are on the budget committee, they're great. And because when we deal with situations, we talk about it, and we talk about it very thoroughly. and they ask the right questions, and we get the correct answer with Ron and Nathan, it's that,
They're
what,
becoming more active.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, this is, in the beginning of us being on it, we had people that didn't show up, and the majority of the time, we were, and still are struggling just to get a quorum.
And while I agree the minutes are useful, I still struggle to understand the full story from the minutes alone. So that's-
well, the things that we talk about in the work session are the things the budget committee has just approved in the last session. They all appear.
Can we agree right now that this is a discussion, because it's 5:10, and I was gonna try to just, when is our next meeting? You know, if you wanna go to the budget meeting, it's the 28th. When is our next meeting that we are going?
11th at 2, right?
Okay.
We'll Zoom Candace in from the Lees.
Okay, and what I would,
You don't wanna take time
send you a
Please,
number.
don't fool with this.
Yeah. What I would like for you all to do is to email your things.
We'll send you a Zoom link just in case, Candace.
End of business, Monday the 8th is our deadline to submit ideas and or ask any questions.
and if you've got an idea, what I mean by that is we'll run the numbers and we'll give you a position statement, basically where you are if we do it this way. And that way you can, and I'll try to make it a standard looking format, so you can just look at them and tell.
And I'm gonna ask a question, because I don't think I ever, have we had a recommendation that came? Was that first session, because that was just so much hearing the needs? Have we had a firm recommendation from the budget committee for the budget? Was to accept
Except what was presented
what was presented?
originally.
Okay.
Except what we-
Yeah, originally.
Which is still the budget you're looking at right now, essentially.
So, and that was recommended.
When was that recommended to
That was
us?
on May.
It's the second time they met.
Yeah, May 6th.
I can go back on my.
May 11th.
It's gonna be budget 30 internally.
It was May.
Council budget number 3, then we
Yeah,
received last one.
it has been a little bit
Made some
confusing,
changes
so.
and.
Then we had another meeting on May 28th.
All right, well, we'll get this somewhere.
I mean,
2 p.m., Thursday the 11th. Okay.
If you have suggestions and thoughts, and you wanna make sure people are not doing the same suggestions and thought, we have our city email, which Larry is now a part of and using.
I just
You
went
are?
back and put everything out, rebooted myself, and then bring it up here.
Good job,
Oh,
Larry.
good.
So when is our next
Won't you
meeting?
do it?
Your
Cashing
meeting
in
is
on my
the
side.
28th for budget.
3 o'clock, that's budget committee.
That's the one you're the chair of.
Yeah, but then, this is like a budget.
This is work session. Our next
Well,
budget work
Richard
session.
is gonna have to, he's not here. Any other business to move us forward? Richard? Hey, Richard.
Okay, I don't have anything.
No, you're supposed to have moved to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
And they fix it every time.